Good afternoon, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to Two Mikes on Talk Sport. It's still all about Swansea today as Chris Coleman and Roy Hodgson emerge as the top of the pack of managers to replace Barb. But we haven't forgotten about Ian Uru Onion Holloway, whose side QPR could drop another place tonight if Burton Albion beat bottom of the table Rotherham. We're talking OBEs, we're talking pubs, watches, and of course it's Porky Vision today as well. Plus, there's a bit of a birthday celebration.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to
It is, of course, the birthday of Mr. Mike Porky Parry of indeterminate age. Very happy birthday to you, Mr. Parry.
Well,
very good morning. Welcome
that is...
to the Two Mikes and Talk Sport.
Mike.
So here we are. Time to say a very, very good afternoon and a happy birthday to Mr. Mike Porky Parry.
Well, thank you very much, Mike. That's very kind of you.
It
I've
is.
got usual sort of thing, you know, hundreds of birthday cards and all that kind of
Hundreds?
stuff. Yeah,
Really?
yeah, hundreds of thousands of best wishes.
Really?
Semi-naked women throwing themselves at me on the approaches to
Semi-naked?
Talksport Towers
How do you
today.
mean? How do you mean
Hey?
semi-naked?
Well, I can't go into that, please. I'm going to that. These women
Which
may
half?
have families. They may have families. And,
you wouldn't be interested in them if they weren't.
I have to say thank you very much indeed for all your good wishes.
Yeah.
And also to extend an invitation to anybody who's having a birthday today.
Yeah.
Maybe send us a text, give us a,
What, you mean someone who might share your birthday?
share my birthday, give us a call. And I'm thinking in particular,
Yeah.
two old friends of mine.
Yeah.
Aled Jones.
Aled Jones.
Aled Jones.
Old friend of yours.
We're flying through the
Is
air.
it walking through the air?
Walking, that's it. We're walking through the air. Right.
So when was the last time you spoke to Aled?
Well, not so long ago. I went
Really?
to a first night in the West End, and of course he's a very cultured man in terms of the arts and
Is he?
the theatre.
Yeah.
And we...
What did you go to see?
A new production.
What was it called?
It was called. Listen, it was. I don't want to go into it actually, just in case other people are jealous that I was there and they weren't.
Right. You can't remember, can you?
But let me say
Did
to you,
were you at the Crush Bar?
let me say to you, no, we ended up at the on the same table with each other at the very nice hotel opposite the entrance of the BBC in Portland Place.
Oh yeah.
What's that
What,
called?
the Lanesborough?
No, isn't it the Olympia Hilton or something like
I
that?
don't know. Well, it's not a Hilton, is it? It's a nice hotel.
Well, honestly, it's a very nice hotel. And
Well, you're always hanging around over there with your mate Jeremy Vine. I mean, you should know it.
yes,
I don't really go over there.
That's right, yeah. But
How is Jeremy, by the way? He went a bit
Jeremy-
mad this year, didn't he?
did he? I don't know. Did he?
You don't think he went a bit mad?
Well,
Well, the cycling sort of sent him a bit doolally.
I see what you mean. Well, he had a few run-ins, didn't he, with motorists,
he
he's
did.
a cyclist. But I mean, his brother was very nice to us, wasn't
Tim's
he?
great, yeah.
Who gave
Tremendous.
us? Didn't he give us a strap for one of our promotions or something?
Well, he
Was
does
it
a thing for Postman Pork. Yeah.
Postman Pork. That's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you very much. So, Aled, if
Your
you're
memory's not any better now that you've got another year older.
I'm not sure about that. Aled, if you're around, you want to give us a call, obviously you're very welcome. However, I do realise that, you might get caught in the queue of well-wishers who are ringing in. And, of course, the other person who I'd like to really point out has a birthday on the same day as me, the original rock chick.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, absolutely the original rock chick, wouldn't you say?
Who?
Well, you know what I'm talking about.
Tell me your name first.
Former paramour of Mick Jagger.
Yeah. And Keith Richards.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
And Brian Jones.
That's right, absolutely.
And Bill Wyman, probably.
Could have been.
And Mick Taylor.
Maybe Mick Taylor. Yeah.
Ronnie Wood.
This is the
Marianne
evening
Faithfull.
of the day.
Yes.
This
all right.
I stop and watch the
You're not
children
just because it's your
play.
birthday, you don't get special dispensation.
Yeah, but I mean, that was a great record.
Do you know,
that.
they're not the only two people that actually share your birthday.
What?
There's a lot of other people that
Are you
do share
mad?
your birthday, including Kei Nishikori.
Who?
Kei Nishikori.
What?
You know who he is?
Who?
Kei Nishikori.
Kane Nishikori. Oh, Kana. You mean Kanye like Kanye West?
Not Kanye West,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
Kei Nishikori's a tennis player.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's great. I'm
He's
glad to hear that.
27.
27.
Brian Dexter.
Brian Dexter.
Brian Dexter Holland.
Right, no, don't know anything about Brian Dexter Holland, I'm afraid.
He's
no.
he's a rock singer.
Oh, yeah, okay, good
what
for him.
what about Kieran Dyer?
Oh, Kieran Dyer, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's
Is that
38.
right?
He's 38 today.
Kieran Dyer. Now, Kieran Dyer, I think, had one of the most unfulfilled football careers in history, don't you?
What?
Unfulfilled.
Yes, I suppose you could say that.
He did it on the
I
football
suppose
pitch.
that's unfortunate for him.
Yeah.
What about Pimp C?
Who?
Pimp C.
Why don't mix with people like that?
He's a rapper.
Is he?
I think he might be dead, though. But he shares your birthday.
Yeah, okay.
Andrew Johnson.
Oh, are you talking about the Everton footballer?
No.
Oh, my God,
No.
that's wonderful.
No,
Who?
not that Andrew Johnson. The Andrew Johnson who was US president between 1808 and 1875.
A fine man.
Yeah.
Yeah, a man who set the pace,
What
definitely.
about John Voight?
I didn't know John Voight was.
John
You're talking
Voight?
about
You
John...
don't know anyone that shares your birthday.
Sorry, you're talking about Midnight Cowboy here?
That's him.
Yeah, that was a great film.
Father of Angelina Jolie.
Angelina Jolie,
Even though she
indeed.
doesn't speak to him. Ted Danson.
Ted Danson.
He's 69 today, slightly
Cheers?
older than you.
Is that Cheers?
That's the guy from Cheers.
I've never seen an episode of that, by the way.
You've never seen
No,
an episode?
no.
Have you never been to the bar in Boston?
No, I haven't, no. From
How fascinating.
a Sioux Indian trading post
Yeah,
into
yeah.
the magnificent city it is today.
How about Mary Tyler Moore?
Mary Tyler Moore. She was Dick Van Dyke's wife.
She's 80 now.
80.
Yeah.
Wow, it's a good old age, isn't it? Yeah.
How about Cody Wise?
Cody?
Yeah.
Cody.
Yeah. You know Cody Wise?
No idea who Cody is.
He's 21. He's a pop singer.
Oh, no, Cody.
How about, let's see, Naomi Sakura? She's 22.
Who?
Naomi Sakura.
No, I don't know over there. I'm
She's a
fed up
TV
with this
actress.
list. They're getting more and more.
What about Jude Law?
Jude Law? Yeah, good for Jude Law. Yeah.
Slim Jimmy.
Slim Jimmy, I couldn't care less. These are getting
He's a
less and
rap
less
star.
important. Jude Law only ever made one good film, and it was The Road to Perdition, and he was the assassiner. The assassinator. No, the assassin.
The assassinator.
The assassinator. In, the assassin.
What about Mr. Ripley?
I've never seen it, so I
That's
don't
a
know.
great film.
Listen, before we go any further,
Adam Waith.
and early into the show, I have some...
They haven't got you down here as a famous person with a birthday today.
I've got...
You're not here.
I'm
I'm looking at a website that says famous birthdays.
I refuse to...
You're not in it.
I refuse to go on lists like that, you know
Do
that. I have had some inside information about who could be the possible successor at Swansea.
Oh, yeah? Do tell.
Well-
The new Bobcat Bob.
I can't speak about my sources, but
Right.
the thinking amongst football people,
Oh, yeah.
who obviously the board of Swansea are going to have to listen to, is that Roy Hodgson
No.
is... Hang on. Roy Hodgson could be the man who is perfectly qualified to do the job that needs doing at Swansea. I can't tell you where I got this from.
Yeah.
I'm not prepared to.
I can't believe anybody would think Roy Hodgson could
No,
do the
it's a
job at Swansea.
very authoritative source, but I'm not
Is this
saying...
based on the fact that he kept Fulham up or something?
Well, I think it's based on the fact that there are two ways to manage. One is to go to Liverpool and become a hustle, bustle, fiery, let's go forward type manager like Jurgen Klopp is, and he's doing a brilliant job.
Well, hustle and bustle are not two words I'd normally associate with Roy Hodgson.
Well, this is what I'm saying. But a different job needs doing at Swansea, and that is to consolidate,
Yeah.
to be ultra careful and cautious, but to mop up the points on a basis of extreme concentration.
Yeah, but you know
on
what
content.
the problem is with that particular story, right?
Yeah.
Apparently, a lot of the players at Swansea were not happy with the old-fashioned training methods that Bobcat Bob was using.
They started calling him Ronald Reagan.
They started calling him Ronald Reagan for
I
some
know,
reason.
yeah.
Right now, Roy Hodgson, as we both know,
Yes.
is famous for having very old-fashioned coaching methods, as we were told by
Yes.
one of your contacts many years ago.
A footballer at Liverpool
That's
when we
right.
went there. That's right.
Yeah, so I mean, Roy Hodgson
Well-
will be in the same boat, will he not? Because
No.
the players won't want to play for
No.
a guy who's so old that he actually uses, sort of
Yeah.
ancient Egyptian coaching methods.
What I'm told is by sources, and I can't name them, who have experience of actually working with Roy, and in particular at Fulham,
Yeah.
is that when he went to Fulham, they were in a desperate situation. They needed a revival and rescue package, much like Swansea
Yeah.
do now. And in fact, over the space of the next 2 or 3 seasons, did a brilliant job
Yeah.
in elevating them from what you'd call football poverty
Yeah.
into football acceptance.
But I thought you said
And
Chris Coleman was going to get the job.
Well, if I was...
So today you got a different story.
No. My own personal view is that Chris Coleman should get the job because I think he's a brilliant young manager. I mean, I know he's worked in club management before and had all sorts of opportunities, but he's made such a great fist of the Wales job. He's a man who should be considered. But the sources that are
It's
telling me
time, by
about
the way.
Roy Hodgson tell me that he would be actually perfect for this.
I
and-
can't believe that. I can't believe that.
Well, I mean, for instance, he was the national manager of Switzerland. That's exactly what they needed was Roy Hodgson.
Well, but they weren't down at the bottom of anything, were they? They were a
Fulham,
national team.
exactly what they needed, Roy Hodgson. Could well be. Swansea now in the position now, and I'm not prepared to reveal my sources.
Would you say he did all right at West Brom?
I would, yes.
Yeah?
I would, yeah. West Brom's another example of how he can
Okay.
consolidate, and that's what they consolidate and then slowly improve between now and the end of the season.
Guy says this, get real porks that the only source you have is HP.
HP.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
One from Ryan. It says,
I like a bit of tomato.
My cat just darted out of the room as soon as Porky started singing. My God, that was awful.
I think that's very unkind.
And quite a few people wishing you a very, very happy birthday. If Porky's entering early middle age, says Pete, I suspect one of the birthday presents was a time machine. Wrong Star says, the big 7-0, Porky, never thought you'd make it.
What?
The girls couldn't miss it.
Oh,
MG
no.
snuck in for a photo bomb. And then Sean says, check out Porky's wiki page. Somebody's doctored it. It says birthday 29th of December 1934.
What?
Which is obviously not that
mad.
You're not that old. Brian says, happy birthday, Porky. I'm sure the bus pass will be useful.
That's harsh.
So a lot of people wondering how old you are, but I can assure them you're not quite 70.
Exactly.
Now, we're going to talk to Gitto Llewellyn coming up very shortly,
Excellent.
who is a very, very well-connected man down in Swansea.
Terrifically knowledgeable
man who does the Jackcast broadcast. But just before we do that, let's have this tweet from Mark, who says, we've got the same source as you, Porky, on Roy Hodgson to Swansea.
Really?
We listened to the last show with Danny Murphy.
What?
Danny Murphy was on the last show, was he not, with Des Kelly?
Hey, listen, I haven't had time to listen to the last show, mate. I was too busy
Well,
putting this show together.
Is that your source?
What?
Is that your source?
How dare you? You don't question a journalist on his sources, mate.
Yeah, well, you don't normally have them.
I tell you what, you could put me on the rack and start pulling my fingernails out, and I wouldn't tell you what my source
Sounds
was.
like a good plan. I was going to take you for a drink, but I'll do that instead if you like. The birthday celebration. Put Mike Parry on a rack. If anybody's got one, you can deliver it to 18 Hatfield between now and 4 o'clock. That'd be great. We're doing a whiskey tasting tomorrow, by the way, so I want it to be in good order. So I don't want too many birthday celebrations tonight. Not too much overindulgence.
There won't be any birthday celebrations.
Okay.
I mean, I don't really get this idea from that I'm going to buy you a drink after the show. I mean,
no.
Don't you think I've got better things to do?
You don't have to buy me a drink after the show. I'll buy you a drink. It's your birthday.
Really?
Once a year, might as well.
It's the first, isn't it?
Let's talk to Gitto Llewellyn. Gitto, very good afternoon to you. Welcome back.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Now, last time you and I spoke, you were not very happy about Mr. Bobcat Bob Bradley. He's now gone. What are you hearing about whether it's going to be Roy Hodgson or Chris Coleman or Harry Redknapp or Ryan Giggs? What are you hearing?
We're hearing a lot of names, and there's no. I don't know if there's been really one standout candidate. And fans seem quite divided, really, on what we'd like to see. Some say that we need a long-term option and start planning for life beyond a probable relegation. Others say that we should look for somebody with experience of getting teams out of trouble. But I don't think there's been one clear candidate that everybody can back at the moment.
Okay, now Guto, you've got your ear to the ground. Sorry?
It's Gitto.
Gitto, that's what I said.
You said Guto.
I'm sorry, Guto. I meant to say Gitto. Now then, Gitto, can I just say, please, you're a man with your ear to the ground, and we are hearing things this morning, various reports, that the players were actually started taking the mickey out of Bobcat Bob by calling him Ronald Reagan. Now, that probably has been going on for quite a long time. So where I've been coming for criticism for, accentuating his American accent, boy, it seems like maybe some of the players in the dressing room were similarly making fun of their manager. Do you have any information on this?
I don't think most of the players were alive when Ronald Reagan was president, were they?
Well, probably not, but I mean, what I'm saying
I think that was what they were referring to as old-fashioned training methods, I think. And it wasn't just the players. I think it was also some of the people on staff at the club, which tells you that poor old Bobcat was coming in and, people were kind of sniggering behind his back without him knowing.
This is the thing, Gitto. Behind the scenes, was Bob fighting a credibility factor at the club?
He wouldn't be the first one to do that. But I mean, we've heard these kind of stories before. When Francesco Guidolin was in charge, we heard that the players didn't really have much respect for his training methods either. There have been whispers in the past about players not really approving of other managers too. How credible they are, I'm not sure, but there's no smoke without fire when you hear these stories pop up time and time again with different managers. That may suggest that there's a problem with attitude within the squad. Again,
well, I mean, it's a modern sort of phenomenon, isn't it, in football, that the players decide they don't like the manager's training methods. I mean, there would have been a time when that was never possible, and there would be certain managers, I would have thought, who wouldn't have allowed that kind of atmosphere to persist.
Yeah, and it is a bit of a strange one. I mean, the players who have shown such weak character on the pitch this season, the thought that they could, suddenly think that they could do a better job than the manager of running the team. It's a bit of a strange one.
And that is the problem, isn't it? Because whoever does come in is going to need to be able to motivate these guys, change the way that they've been playing on the field in terms of their effort, in terms of the work rate that they're willing to put in, and completely just rebuild the whole squad, really.
Yeah, that's it exactly. Whoever takes over has a mammoth task on their hands. The state of the club at the moment is pretty dismal on and off the pitch. The new owners are settling in, and they're trying to find their way in an environment which they're not accustomed to. Fans are very, very angry with things on the pitch and off the pitch, and the players have proved this season so far that they're simply not up to the task. But I mean, other than the fact that the quality's not there, the mentality's not there. That we're seeing, we're not seeing the players fighting in the same way as we're seeing other teams down the bottom with us putting in a shift.
Well, you say that, but I mean, it is a lonely old place to be below that dotted line in the bottom three. Now, Gitto, I know that fan power is not necessarily a good thing because, the people who run the clubs have to have an independent thought pattern. But who do the fans want? Do they want an exciting prospect like Chris Coleman, or do they want a very safe pair of hands, which would, of course, be somebody like Roy Hodgson?
Fans don't really know, I'll be honest. Before Bob Bradley left, on social media, you saw a lot of people asking, well, who do you want in his place then? If Bob Bradley goes, who do you want in his place?
Yes.
There were different answers, but nobody, nobody confidently said, we want this guy because this guy's going to do going to keep us up or going to change things. There is no easy answer when it comes to Bob Bradley's replacement. We're in such a hole at the moment, and you'd have to ask what kind of manager would want to take over a club.
Well, I mean, in a way, the ideal manager would have been Sam Allardyce, but Swansea missed the boat on that because they allowed Crystal Palace to move in and swoop him up, didn't they? So, I mean, he's the one guy you would want to guarantee that you stay up.
Yeah, there are a few managers every season out there that they're always available, and then it's just a question of which club sacks first.
Well, no, I don't think it is, Gitto. I think Sam Allardyce has got a tremendous track record. He's managed 6 Premier League clubs now, and he's never been relegated. He's almost guaranteeing survival in the Premier League. He's that good at what he does. And if the Swansea board had anything about them, they should have realised that Palace may have been thinking about replacing their manager, and they should have got in ahead of Palace. I do honestly think that's a mismanagement.
I actually think that they should have
by the Swansea board.
I think they've done better just hanging on to Bobcat, because to be honest,
what's a ridiculous
No,
statement.
I mean I think he would have proved to be better than they thought.
So they get
he was
the lowest record points ever in the Premier League.
No, I mean Hull are still below them. Don't forget, and there's no guarantee, Gitto, is there, that whoever does come in will get any better result out of these players?
No, it's a tough task facing anybody, and most fans, if you ask them, do you think a new manager can be found who can keep us up? Well, I think a lot of fans would say that it's still a heck of a long shot whoever takes over. Even if we did bring in a Sam Allardyce, I think despite what he achieved at Sunderland last season, I think even he would have found it very difficult to turn things around, such as the malaise around the club at the moment.
What would you say, Gitto, if the Swansea board, who have some money because they're investors and that sort of thing, decided we've got the answer? They shoot off to Scotland on a private plane, they land in Glasgow, they take a Uber or a taxi or something like that down to Celtic Park.
Why do you keep going on about Uber all the time?
And they say to Brendan Rodgers, here's a blank cheque, come back and save us.
He won't come back.
I think he'd be silly to consider it.
Why would he go from being at the top of the league to the bottom of the league? Why would he want to do that?
They're different leagues, Mike, actually.
Yeah, I realise that.
They're both called the Premier League, but one's in Scotland and one's in England.
Some people say
they're
not.
On the source already.
Actually, no, they're not called the Premier League. No.
Yes,
the Scottish one is not called the Premier League.
It's called the Scottish Premier League.
Yeah, it's not called the Premier League,
and it's the English Premier League.
Anyway, Gitto, sorry about this. He's gone off on a mad tangent. It's his birthday, you see. I think he's already been at the cooking sherry. But anyway, Brendan Rodgers is not returning to Swansea. If he comes back to the Premier League, it will be to manage a bigger club.
My question to
Celtic.
Gitto really was, are you left with fond memories of Brendan Rodgers' reign?
Oh, well, certainly.
There you go. And what I'm saying is, Gitto, to develop that question, actually, people don't realise that Swansea, who are sometimes perceived as sort of a small club, have only ever had a successful run in the Premier League. You've never had problems in the Premier League before, have you?
Well, we had a very difficult season last year, but that should have really been
that was the first one
for everybody.
That's right. Yeah,
so that was last year then. Well, listen, Gitto, who would you personally like to see coming in?
Oh, it's a tough one.
No, it's not. It's not, Gitto. We're putting you on the spot here.
Long run, I think somebody like Gary Rowett would be a good appointment because he even if he went down to the Championship, he's a talented young manager who could rebuild the club from top to bottom. If we gave him the money and the control of the club just to say, okay, create something new here. that can wipe the slate clean and just start afresh. That's really what we need. We need a complete transformation.
Well, you see, that's such a poor answer, Gitto, because when you say somebody like Gary Rowett, so what do you expect the Swansea board to do?
You've seen the time, by the way.
Go out into the main street in Cardiff, walk up and down. Oh, look, he looks like Gary Rowett.
Cardiff?
Sorry, to Swansea. Walk up and down the high street in Swansea. Look, that bloke, he looks like Gary Rowett.
Malky Mackay.
But I mean, when you say somebody like Gary Rowett, what do you want? Somebody who looks like Gary Rowett or what?
Well, he means Gary Rowett, basically.
He should say Gary Rowett.
I don't know why giving Gitto such a hard time. Listen, Gitto, thank you very much.
Gitto, thanks a lot.
He's the author, of course, of the Jack Cast podcast down in South Wales. Very knowledgeable man. He says there's a bit of confusion amongst the fans because nobody really knows who they want.
Well,
and nobody really knows if anyone can save Swansea. That is the problem.
Got to get your head together.
Now, coming up, I'm going to tell you about a terrible incident that happened just before the show began out of the office here at TalkSport.
Dear,
and
terrible.
also, I'm going to tell you about the world's richest footballer as well. This is TalkSport. Did you get him on the show?
Aled?
Yeah, you're getting him on the show.
I think he might be busy, but...
busy? Well, you're too busy to offer you his congratulations and share a happy birthday with you.
Hang on. There's a queue of people who want to come on the show today. We only got 3 hours, man. I mean, you can't accommodate anybody.
Maybe we should get Danny Murphy on. He can tell us the Roy Hodgson story again.
What's that going to do with it?
Well, Charlie says this. Parry has simply repeated what Danny Murphy said in a previous show.
Well,
sources my backside.
Well, hang on. That just shows that I'm on the wavelength of former professional footballers who are in the inside.
Wavelength's a good word because he went out on the radio.
Clearly, the sources that have been briefing me overnight have also got Danny Murphy's ear. So it's just coincidence.
How about this? Alex says Swansea need 11 new players, never mind a new manager. And Paul says, I agree with the guy on TalkSport just now. Swansea would have my respect if they went for Gary Rowett.
Yes.
He's a great manager in the making.
Or somebody like Gary Rowett, like a Gary Rowett lookalike,
Yeah. And as it has been pointed out by David and many others, it is the Scottish Premiership, not the Premier League.
Yeah, well, there you go. OK, the Scottish Premiership. So what?
Yeah, well, so you said they would call the same name.
I think we're splitting
We are splitting hairs. Now, what do you make of Carlos Tevez going to a Shanghai Shenhua
Incredible.
for 610,000? So poor old Oscar, right, who went there from Chelsea, was only the richest footballer in the world
for about 3 days.
For about a week.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And Boca Juniors getting 70 million quid.
Yeah.
That's a fortune for them.
Oh, not a fortune.
In Argentina, they haven't got that much money, have they?
No, they used to settle Argentinian clubs, if you remember. The very first Argentinian players who came to this country big style in big headline transfers were Ossie Ardiles and... who was the big tall guy with the beard? Brilliant player. Number 10.
You mean Ricky Villa?
Ricky Villa, thank you very much indeed. He scored that magical cup final goal, didn't he?
He did.
For Spurs against Manchester City, wasn't it?
It certainly was for Spurs.
Yeah,
I'm not sure
I think it was
against
City, yeah. And before that, we sort of didn't realise that South American players could come here. But I mean, that is... I think the world has gone completely mad because Carlos Tevez is not now good enough to play in the Premier League in England.
Well,
right?
I wouldn't know if he was not good enough. I think he'd still get a game, maybe as a sort of super sub.
I agree. But he won't get into one of Europe's stellar club starting lineups.
He struggles
anymore.
to get into the Argentinian national team.
Well,
sure.
absolutely. Yeah. So he's going to challenge 610. Look, all I can say is any man who gets that opportunity has to take it. But he owes it to himself, to his family, and to the circumstances.
But you've said in the past as well that everyone who goes to China will have to be prepared to live in a country which is very, very different from what they're used to.
Well, I've spoken to a player who went there and came back, and apparently the living conditions are literally military style. I mean, your life is regulated from the moment you get up to the moment you go to bed in terms of... not only your diet, not only your training methods, but your lifestyle, what you're allowed to do, where you live, and what you're allowed to do when you're not actually preparing or playing football.
Who was he playing for?
I don't want to go into it. What do you
mean you don't want to go into it?
Don't go into it.
Why not?
Don't go into it.
Well, how many English players have gone out to play in China?
Well, this was an Australian player, actually.
An Australian?
Yeah.
I mean, Tim Cahill?
Well, I don't want to say too much.
Who was he playing for? Was it Shanghai Shenhua as well?
I'm not sure. I don't know, because I don't know an awful lot of Chinese clubs, because they are a minor.
I didn't know you knew Tim.
They're of course I know Tim. He plays for Everton.
Well, I know he plays for Everton. But, I mean, we passed the entire Everton team on the way up to Liverpool on the train.
Yes.
You might remember. At Runcorn Station, you waved at them, and not one of them waved back. One of them.
But Tim Cahill doesn't play for Everton anymore,
no,
so
I know
he wasn't on the platform, was he?
But my point is, your reasoning that you know him because he plays for Everton would suggest
I think you'll find
that you don't know any of the other players, and then wave back at you.
I think you'll find a few years ago when Everton embarked on their cup run at Scunthorpe, and I was waiting outside the luxury hotel where the Everton team was staying.
Yeah.
I think you'll find that the coach
Yeah, David Moyes came on the show the next day to say that he picked you up because he thought you looked like a tramp.
Oh, that's very kind.
He did.
And and I was given a lift to the game on the coach. Amongst the players on the coach was Tim Cahill.
Yeah.
And I think you'll find there's been that sort of loose bond ever since. You know what I mean?
How about this disgraceful tweet from Rob?
Yes.
I think Mike Bovill's been on the cock o' van again, Porky.
The cock o' van. I think you're absolutely right, mate. And,
now, listen, let me tell you about this terrible incident that happened.
I want to hear this.
Just before we started the show, right? As you know, here at Talk Sport, we've got many, many very heavy doors, which are soundproofed.
Exactly.
So that
and
people
they
can't
are very
hear.
heavy, actually.
They're very heavy indeed. And the trouble is that they open outwards, generally speaking.
Yes.
And, of course, whichever direction...
You pull them towards you.
But you can also push them out.
If you're on the inside, you push them out.
Well, if you're on the inside, you push them out, which is always, for me, a bad idea because you push out the door into the general office area.
Could be somebody else on the other side.
Where people are quite often walking, because it's quite a small office, really. And there's a lot more
Sorry,
people
I'm laughing,
working.
but I witnessed this incident.
I don't know why you're laughing.
Well, I
a
shouldn't
poor
be.
young guy, whose name is Frey, by the way.
What's his name?
Frey.
Frey? Well, like as in Bentos?
That's what I said.
Yeah.
I said exactly that when somebody told me.
It's the only other Frey we know,
Yeah,
isn't it?
well, I wondered if it was like Glenn Frey, but for the Eagles, but that's that's more...
okay, so old Frey...
That's more like Glenn Fry, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Anyway, this guy, poor guy Frey, is walking past the door.
He's got glasses on as well.
He wears glasses. He's quite a tall guy. And he's obviously not that familiar. I haven't seen him around here very much. He's not that familiar with where the door opened.
Actually...
And just as he was walking past,
yes.
Sandy Waugh, the head of news here in the morning,
that's right.
on the breakfast show,
that's right.
pushes the door with such force, slams into his forehead.
It does, smash it into his face.
Made a terrible noise.
Terrible noise.
And the next thing you know, the guy is kind of staggering about, literally, disoriented.
And then blood starts running down his face.
And blood starts pumping out of his forehead.
I know, yeah. It was shocking.
I know.
And I have to say,
really awful.
Sandy, who has not an ounce of venom within her, was appalled at what happened. Oh, none whatsoever.
Right.
Has, well, only towards certain people, I suppose. But she was mortified because she'd pushed the door. And you'd have to give it a good old shove to make it move.
No, but she really hit it hard, though.
She did hit it hard.
She's soaring out of here.
Well, she doesn't have a lot of time. She's writing bulletins all over the place. She's very efficient at what she does. Doesn't suffer fool's gladly. Doesn't waste time.
Because Frey just then went about his business and started printing something out. And suddenly all his blood started pumping out of his forehead.
The amazing thing was that when the door smashed into Frey's face, I was actually talking to Danny Murphy.
Oh, were you?
Who was on the last show. Yeah,
were you talking about Roy Hodgson?
I can't see. That's what I talked to Danny Murphy about. And I started laughing, and Danny asked me what I was laughing about. Yeah. And I was looking over his shoulder, and I said, I know you shouldn't do it, but that guy's just been knocked off his feet by somebody smashing the door into his face. And he's on the floor now, and blood pouring down his face. And you'd not like to take, He's
got a great big gash now.
He's got a big gash in his face. You don't like to take pleasure from other people's misfortunes.
Well,
I'm amazed that we haven't had somebody here, like a paramedic or something.
We've not got like an office nurse.
Well,
in newspapers, you used to have an office medical area.
Just to check out the fact that the guy is okay. I mean, you've got to be quite.
You used to have a nurse at the Express, didn't they? They certainly had one in the Mirror building.
I think we had a nurse at the Express, and I think that our old colleague Norman Luck seduced her in the sick bay.
Probably, yeah.
He did, yeah.
Dad pretended he had a bad knee or something.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he used to do that. He used to do that. Yeah,
he's not around anymore, Norman, is he?
Norman's dead.
Yeah.
So don't worry about that. I'm not sure what happened to the nurse, but anyway, there you go. Particularly after mixing with Norman.
Knee.
Yeah, wounded knee. That was it. But
the worst thing about Norman Luck was, as lecherous as he was, he somehow managed to get himself elected as the sexual harassment officer of the Daily Express, so that he would listen to these tales of woe from young women coming in saying that they'd been sexually harassed. Make sure that they gave him chapter and verse.
It was absolutely unbelievable that there's a young lady we still know who has told us that Norman Luck used to ask her if he could fondle her breasts in the
It's a family show, this. Well, he used to ask her.
He used to ask her, yeah, it was all right. I mean, it's a family show. And Norman ends up, as you quite like, being the sexual offender complaints monitor.
Well, it wasn't really offenders.
That's sexual, what was it? Sort of insinuation.
Sexual harassment.
Harassment, that's right, yeah.
Sexual insinuation officer, that was probably more apt.
Yeah, yes, that's right. But I can tell you that, I knew a little bit about Norman's wild ways from a long time back. We were doing a story in Sardinia. And
you see the time, by the way.
Yeah, whatever.
We haven't got time for this.
No. We're in Sardinia.
Yeah.
And I went up to see Norman.
You got arrested.
No, he didn't. No, no. It was something else. I
thought you got arrested in Sardinia.
That was a different story altogether. That was the World Cup. Now, what happened here was a family had been kidnapped from their villa in Sardinia.
Who'd been kidnapped?
Very prominent British family, being held for ransom.
Well, all of them.
Yeah, all of them. Yeah, the wife
that's not
and the
very smart,
daughter.
is it?
The
Why
wife
would
and the
you don't
daughter.
kidnap everyone, and there's nobody to pay the ransom.
The wife and the daughter, and they left the millionaire father to sort out the ransom.
Okay.
So we all got out there. But anyway, I was a very lowly member of the Fleet Street Pack at the time. Went up to see Norman, and I knocked on his door. He said, "Yeah, come in." And I went out to the balcony, and I found Norman on the balcony with a stopwatch.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, I know, I'm Mike Parry. You know, we worked on the same paper. He said, yeah, good to see you, mate. How you doing? I said, fine. I said, what exactly are you doing there, Norm? He said, I'm timing them. I said, timing who? He said, well, the back gate of this hotel is where all the hookers wait. Yeah. And passing motorists stop and they get into their cars. He says, do you know what? One of them was only away for 16 minutes and she was back again. That's what he was doing. Life. Yes,
unbelievable.
Absolutely.
Well, we'll talk some more about Norman Luck. This is a family show, as you know. Now, let me just read you this from Underhill, who says, my niece Jessica Fowle has just given birth to a boy, Max Jamie Winland, 9 pounds 10 ounces, a birthday twin with Porky.
Wow.
He says, hashtag MUFC.
Oh, well, congratulations, and I wish the boy a brilliant future in life.
No, thank you very much indeed. Let's go to Dan Dawson, who's at Ali Pally watching the darts. Dan?
Yes, opening game of the day. It's not the highest quality. It's certainly eventful, though. Mark Webster was first introduced to the stage as his opponent, Darryl Gurney, the Northern Irishman. Didn't stop him winning the first set 3-0. He has just missed 5 darts by my count to take a 2-0 lead. And Gurney, he took an age just back at the table, drinking his water, trying to calm himself down before he returned to the board, pinned 1-1, celebrated wildly, pump of the fist, even shouted come on at Webster as he was walking off the stage. He is very, very fired up for this Northern Irishman, looking to book his place in the quarterfinals of the William Hill World Championship for the first time. It could be Michael Van Gerwen who awaits. We'll see him later on. The last 8 lineup is set up today. We've got Dave Chisholm and Jelle Klaassen on the way. James Wade versus Michael Smith sees 2 Premier League stars collide this afternoon, and this evening Phil the Power Taylor's on the way as well as Michael Van Gerwen. Taylor takes on Belgium's Kim Huybrechts, and Van Gerwen up against the only unseeded player left in the tournament, Darren Webster. But right now it's Mark Webster and Darryl Gurney, a race to 4, and it's 1 set each. Dan Dawson, Alexandra Palace.
Let's find out who's off to watch Spurs-Chelsea. To win earlier, we asked you, former French international William Gallas played for both Spurs and Chelsea. Which other side based in London did Gallas make over 100 appearances for? Was it Arsenal or West Ham, Porky?
Right, OK, let me tell you, it was the Arsenal. Yeah. And our winner is Glenn Lewington. He's from Essex. Congratulations, Glenn. You're off to White Hart Lane next week.
And that's all thanks to Barclays, championing the true spirit of the game.
First games on TalkSport with Barclays, championing a generation of football.
This is Talk Sport. We've got Porky Vision coming up a little bit later on. We'll be talking a little bit more about football in China, of course, as well. Lots of people wishing you a happy birthday, Porky, I have to say, including this one from, who is it, Pete, who says, Birmingham City had the first big Argentina player, Alberto Tarantino.
Yeah, they did, actually.
It's my dad's 70th today, Mike. Can you wish him a happy birthday?
A very happy birthday to your dad. And I remember Tarantino. He was a fullback, wasn't he? Right fullback, I think.
No relation to Quentin.
No relation to Quentin. Now, getting back to my sources for
we're going to talk to Mark Llewellyn-Slade.
Oh, I think we should, definitely. Yeah.
Not only has Posh Spice all over the papers today, because she happens to have leaked the fact that she's getting an OBE in the Queen's Honours list over the new year. And Mark is a man who is an expert at not only the whole area of the honours, but also in getting people honours. So we might even be able to get you one if you play your cards right. Mark, a very good afternoon to you.
Hello, Mike.
How are
Mark.
You? Hiya.
Yeah, listen, Posh Spice, first of all, seems to have broken the rules of etiquette, doesn't she, by letting this slip that she's getting an OBE?
Yeah, you're supposed to keep it quiet, to be honest, Mike. And everybody that's due to be on the list receives a letter from the Cabinet Office, usually about 6 weeks before the announcement date. And firstly, it asks them if they would accept an honour if the Queen was minded to give them one.
Right.
And the reason they word it like that is that if they say no, then she won't put them on the list and they can't embarrass her by turning it down, which people have done in the past.
Sure.
But then it goes on to say, please don't mention this, keep it confidential until the announcement date. And, of course, some naughty people do let it slip. And it happened to Lenny Henry quite recently, and it's happened to Victoria Beckham. And we don't know whether she's done it, her PR people have done it, or who may have done it. But it does mean that these people, as Lenny Henry did, steal a march publicity-wise. And, of course, a lot of this is to do with publicity at the end of the day. by making sure it gets leaked.
Thing is, Mark, with social networking these days, she could literally have just mentioned it over a family lunch with David and her 3 sons and her daughter, and of course her lads, who are now, sort of either middling or elderly teenagers. One of them just could have tweeted his mate or something like that, or, oh, isn't it exciting, whatever, and that's the way it gets out, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And, young people can't resist, perhaps, giving the newspapers a call or whatever it might be, or just tweeting it out, as you say.
Yeah.
But, of course, if she is to receive an OBE for services to fashion and charity, which is what they seem to be saying, then the million-dollar question here is, has she excelled in those areas, and is she truly a leader in her field? Or is she just leveraging her husband's celebrity status and riding on his coattails?
Well, certainly one particular newspaper columnist says that, the idea of giving Posh Spice an OBE is reason enough to scrap the entire system.
Well, would she have made it as a fashion designer if she wasn't married to David? There are some unanswered questions here. And there are so many ordinary people, as I call them, out there, working tirelessly for charity in the community that don't get the recognition they deserve because they're not in the public eye like she is, and no one bothers to nominate them. Yeah. So if your listeners do know someone they feel deserves an honour, and they're not a global megastar, then put them forward. You can nominate any worthy person for a gong, but they have to be in it to win it.
Now, this is kind of like nectar to the ears of Porky Parry, who's been after. No, you have been after a New Year's honour for as long as I can remember knowing you.
Hang on, I just want to comment on what Mark said about Posh Spice. I think what you've just said is outrageous. I think it's sexist. I mean, the point is, everybody forgets that Posh Spice was a member of the most successful girl group that's ever been, right? They sold more records, they had more concerts, they were more famous than anybody else, and that alone, in my view, makes her a big, big winner in the world. She chose to marry David Beckham because she loved him. David Beckham was not the world's most famous footballer when she married him, by any stretch of the imagination, and between them, they became the golden couple. And on the day that she was opening a new store in the West End, she wasn't there, she was at the United Nations promoting a charity. So I think you've been extremely harsh on Victoria Beckham.
Well, he's only posing the questions a lot of other people pose.
No, you're not. You're supposed to be a neutral force here, Mark. And
I think you're going to blow your chance. You're going to blow your chance of getting a knighthood.
You're basically saying you don't think she's worthy of it, and I think that's outrageous. I think she is.
Well, to be fair, she's won awards for her fashion work. But is she really designing the clothes, or is she just...
Well, how do you know? Do you know the name of the person who is designing them, then?
I just posed the question in the same way as David...
Yeah, but you see, you're putting doubts in people's minds, and that's very unfair unless you have concrete evidence. We are journalists. We are fact recorders here, Mark. Fact recorders.
How many fragrances has David Beckham got? I reckon 101 at least. I wonder if he mixed and designed each of those fragrances.
Doesn't matter, though, does it really, Mark? Because, at the end of the day, that's the business that they're in. They're in the business of promotion, they're in the business of selling stuff, and they're in the business of being very famous and making hay while the sun shines, as it were. So I don't really care. I presume, as well, that there are lots of people who make fragrances that also don't necessarily have much to do with choosing them.
But Mike...
Does that matter?
But Mike, she's getting an OBE for services to fashion.
Yes.
Now, if she's playing no part in designing...
Yeah, but you're assuming that, though. You don't know that.
We don't know. I'm just posing the question. I don't know. She'll put us right. She may be sweating for hours in the cutting room.
She's not. She's not. She's ahead of it. Do you think that Yves Saint Laurent spent hours in the cutting room shaping, a handkerchief or something like that? What I'm saying is, the reason these people get honours is because, hang on, their celebrity and their fame allows them to promote causes that need promotion, that need the camera of fame thrust upon them. She does that.
She's also a patron of Elton John's AIDS Foundation. She's a patron of Save the Children.
Absolutely.
She does a lot of charitable work.
I think you've been horribly cruel.
I don't think you should be turning this into an argument about Posh Spice.
Because it's all about Posh Spice.
Well, no. I will eat my Victoria Beckham handbag.
Oh, yeah?
If Yves Saint Laurent, when he was younger, starting out, wasn't sweating it for hours, designing his own clothes.
Yeah.
I bet, however, Victoria
What about Pierre
Beckham
Cardin?
didn't sweat it. And him, any designer.
I tell you what, she would
Ralph
draw
Lauren,
up.
You name them.
Now listen.
I know for a fact she drew up designs and hawked them around all the major fashion houses and was rejected time and time again
Really?
until she got it. And just because
told you that?
some columnist, from a middle market paper says, "Oh, this is the death knell for our
you just don't like
tainted
Sarah.
honours."
So now you're attacking Sarah Vine.
Well, Sarah Vine, who is the wife of
What's got
Michael
into you?
Gove,
It's your
who's a
birthday, for
failed
heaven's
politician, right? What right has she got
No,
to
Michael
say
Gove's on
that
our
I'm
side.
better
What's
than
going
Posh
on with
Spice?
you? Porky's gone mad.
Do you not think that so-called exclusive that particular middle market paper ran yesterday and is known for giving everyone a good slagging? Don't you think that paper may have been specifically chosen in order to get a positive piece out there early doors before it's made public?
You're full of conspiracy theories, Mark.
Everyone launches in.
Certainly are, Mark, yeah.
For heaven's sake, look, I wanted to ask
When
you a
did you
question.
give up your job at MI6?
I want to ask you a question. Now, obviously, Porky's upset you now, so you might not wish to help him out. But I understand that 50% of the people that you promote as people that should get OBEs or honours in the system actually get them. So can you get Porky Parry an OBE? That's my question to you.
I will do my very best.
Please, for my work with charities.
Oh, well, so now you're going to beg him for it?
No. I'm just
After slagging him off for the last 5 minutes.
Mark is a very fair-minded man. Just because you don't agree with everything he necessarily says, he will not ignore the contribution I've made to the world and to life in general over the last 45 years.
Yeah, I mean, Porky Parry is definitely calls himself a man of the people, right? He owns several properties. We don't know how many. He doesn't know how many they are.
Portfolio. That's nothing to do with me.
He doesn't allow them to keep cats. He doesn't allow them to keep bikes. In fact, not only does he not allow that, he kicks them out. He's been a terrible boss over the years in very, very different organisations. He once ran an internet television station down into bankruptcy.
What?
He was addicted to Benylin at one point when he was at the Daily Express. He was sent off to America to get himself out of the way because he was so objectionable to everybody else. I mean, could you work with a man like this?
Well, he's stacking up quite favourably compared to Victoria Beckham.
Well, you see, that is absolutely shocking.
It's a shocking thing to say.
Absolutely shocking.
Well, Mark, listen, thank you very much indeed. Do you think Andy Murray's going to get a knighthood as well while we're at it? Because a lot of the bookies seem to think that.
I reckon Andy Murray may well get a knighthood. And what about Nigel Farage? I think he could be up for something if they're brave enough to give him.
They're not going to give Nigel Farage a knighthood, are they?
Well, they normally give the ambassador to the United States a knighthood before he gets there, don't they?
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. And we all know where he's destined for.
Yeah, we do.
Well, we shall see. Well, listen, Mark, thanks very much indeed. We'll be in touch about trying to get an award from the royal family.
Just check your facts next time you come on this show.
For Mike Parry. Here's one from Kelly. It says, according to Mike Parry, he's a fact recorder. It says more like a fat recorder.
Well, that's a bit harsh, isn't it?
Happy birthday, you plank, he says. This is Talk Sport. Good afternoon, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to Two Mics on Talk Sport. Coming up in this hour, we're going to talk to former Hull City midfielder Ian Ashby, who's now selling luxury watches, believe it or not. Porky might buy one off him at some point during the show.
Indeed.
Also, we're going to be talking about pubs. The government wants to protect pubs from being shut down, which is great news for you on your birthday, of course. Lots of birthday wishes coming in. I've also had a couple of irate mothers on saying that they don't need to hear that sort of talk on a family show. Some of the stuff you were coming out with in the last hour. So
what are you on about?
Please don't repeat it. 08717 22 33 44. You're listening to the Two Mics with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. Andy here, who's tweeted at the Two Mics. He says, Porky having an OBE-worthy meltdown about Posh Spice is the best festive entertainment so far.
Well, I mean, look, you've got to speak up for these things. You have principles, you've got to speak up for them. And by the way, too much assumption around here that Danny Murphy was the source of my knowledge about what might happen.
Well, there is a lot of assumption about that, yeah.
No. Danny expressed his considered views. He wasn't tipping anybody for the job, you know. He was merely pointing out that, the sort of person they need, maybe Roy Hodgson fits the frame. That's all I...
So are you saying
I can say from listening to them, but
you're saying you've got different sources. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that I think Danny and I perhaps we talk to the same people in the world of football. It's a big world.
Yes,
okay,
indeed it is. Here's one from Paul in Newport. Porky, you nailed that ignoramus OBE fella. Well done.
Yeah,
more awards for non-entity celebs, I'd say.
Absolutely.
Happy birthday, you plank.
Yeah, that's very nice, isn't it?
And here's one from Gareth who says, Porky, there must be a reason why you haven't got a gong. Would you care to enlighten us?
Well, no, there's no reason at all. The point is that whether or not my efforts to try and put the world right in many different ways have come to light yet. I don't know. But one of these days.
And Neil
I don't
says-
think you should get a knighthood or an award until you've retired. And
So you don't want one yet, then?
well, it's not a question of that. I'm thinking more of Andy Murray.
Yeah.
I think it would be a terrible
Well, it'd be
burden.
ridiculous if he's playing tennis on centre court at Wimbledon and he has to have Sir Andy Murray.
It will be a terrible
up on the
burden.
board.
It will be a terrible burden.
That'd be
honestly.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Here's one from Neil. He says, Porky needs to ease off on the Red Bull. He's so fired up today again. Has he booted anyone else out on the street? Hashtag bike, hashtag cat.
I haven't had any Red Bull, so don't worry about that.
That's good.
Listen. The situation regarding old Posh, by the way.
Yeah.
The reason I like to defend people like that is I don't think people remember. I don't think people consider. She came from a semi-detached house, like a lot of us, and she became one of the most famous women in the world.
Semi-detached house.
What's wrong with that? No, you came from some.
I was in a flat.
Some broken down old flat. Didn't have central heating, did it?
Yeah, no, it didn't have central heating.
Didn't have central heating.
Well,
no.
they offered to put it in, but my father refused on the grounds that it created too much dust.
Yes. Well,
So I'm afraid we just had a couple of Dimplex heaters, and I
of
had to
course.
sleep with a hat on.
Of course, your father, of course, was the RAF war hero who went around bombing India and Canada.
No, he wasn't a war hero. He never claimed to be. It's your dad who claimed to be a war hero, but given the sort of rubbish that you come out with, I'm sure that was all a load of old baloney as well.
Terrible
as
insult
Ian
to
Holloway
my
would
father's
say.
memory, you know.
Who are you? By the
Who
way,
are you?
can you believe that if Burton Albion beat Rotherham tonight,
Yes.
Who Are You and QPR will drop another place in the division without him even playing?
It'll also be 7 consecutive defeats.
No, it won't.
It will.
Right, why?
He won his first and lost the next 6, right?
Yeah.
So if he loses tonight...
No, he's not playing tonight.
Oh, no, sorry. If they lose. If he loses his next one.
The point of the story is that he would go down one spot without even actually playing.
Oh, who are you?
Yeah.
Right,
have a nice Christmas.
Hey,
Nice.
have a nice Christmas. That's right, yeah. Listen, have I told you about this amazing discovery I've made?
I don't know.
There's this big metal ball. And what's your problem?
Big metal ball where?
No, it's a huge metal ball.
Well, how big?
The size of Venus. I don't know what you're laughing at. This comes from my scientific journals.
Do you know how big Venus is?
Scientists suspect that a giant ball of solid metal, right, I don't know what you're laughing at, is orbiting the sun. And it could be the remains...
Where have you got this from?
From my scientific journals.
Is this from, one of the Dandy or something?
No, you idiot. No, this is...
A giant ball of metal.
Scientists suspect a giant ball of solid metal is orbiting the sun and is probably the remains of a Mars-sized planet that was smashed
why is it made
apart.
of metal?
Because that's all that was left of it.
Well, there wasn't any metal on any planets, was there?
Yeah, all planets have a metal core.
Do they?
Have a metal core.
Well, ours doesn't.
Eh?
Ours doesn't have a metal core.
It does. It's just that nobody's ever been that far into it.
No, ours has a molten core.
That's metal.
It's rock.
Yeah, but it's still metal.
No, it's molten rock.
Yes, but molten rock is metal, you idiot,
How
when
is
it
it?
solidifies.
No, it isn't.
Listen to what I'm telling you.
How is rock metal? Well, it's heavy metal.
No, you idiot. If molten dries out like gold.
Well, listen, I've been up
silver,
a volcano within the last 2 months.
It becomes
right?
metal.
I've been up a volcano for in the last 2 months, right?
Have you?
Etna. Remember, I went to Sicily.
Etna, yeah. Oh,
Etna.
yeah. Oh, you've been deep inside Etna.
No, I haven't been deep inside
Idiot.
Etna. That's a ridiculous question.
Well, I've been to Lanzarote. It's the same thing.
What's in Lanzarote?
Loads of volcanic ash.
Really? Yeah. Is there any metal there?
Listen, don't distract me.
Metal.
Our listeners want to hear this.
It's not like a giant sort of, skate park.
This
up
is
Etna.
from a highly respected
what is it?
scientific journal.
Metallurgy Weekly.
You idiot. Now, scientists suspect a giant ball of solid metal is orbiting the sun. It could be the remains of a Mars-sized planet that was smashed apart early in the life of the solar system. The massive asteroid, which is known to scientists as 16 Psyche... What's your problem? That's what they've given it.
Do you think that's a bit of a clue?
Is thought to be the planet's...
Which maniac has come up with this?
Hang on. Is thought to be the planet's molten core, but stripped of its rock mantle by a series of titanic collisions, and since slowly cooled into a solid mass of iron and nickel. Iron and nickel.
So it's an iron ball.
It is. It is literally. It is.
How come we've never seen it before?
Well, they've seen it now because that's why they're talking about it. It says.
So where does it orbit around the sun? In which part of the sort of the planetary scape, if you like? Because
it orbits around the sun.
Well, you know the very famous way of remembering where the planets are, don't you?
Yes.
Go on.
Halley's Comet.
No, it's
swings round.
No, it's Many Very Excellent Men. That one.
Very
excellent. You don't know that one, do you?
No.
You don't know that.
But anyway, look,
Many very excellent men jump sideways using new plimsolls.
Oh, do they? Very good.
That's how you know where all the planets
Something
are.
you learned at junior school, was it?
It was actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Can I?
Except they had to change the ending when they decided Pluto wasn't a planet.
Excuse me. I'm just trying to inform my listeners.
Well, I'm asking you where the big giant metal ball is.
If you just shut up for a minute, I'll tell you. The asteroid.
So upset about?
The asteroid is so unusual that NASA is considering sending a spaceship up to study it.
Why don't they just send a giant magnet up to bring it back?
Honestly.
Well, it's made of metal.
Anyway, it says here, I've got a
giant electromagnet. They could bring it back.
I've got a quote here from Benjamin Weiss, who is who is the
he's well known, Benjamin, isn't he?
Yeah. Benjamin Weiss is the professor of planetary sciences at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology,
MIT.
He says Psyche is by far the largest metal object in the whole of the solar system.
Really?
It is
Well, is
located.
it even bigger than the Angel of the North?
It is located between Mars and Jupiter.
Right, there you go. That's what I was asking.
Its distance from the Sun averages about 280 million miles. It's regarded as one of the largest known asteroids. It's 125 miles in diameter. But what intrigues scientists most...
Why does it get really hot if it's made of metal?
What intrigues scientists most is that it is among the densest bodies ever found in the solar system.
Well,
it is solid metal.
Along with you.
You see, do you know, it's pointless we bring these stories up on this show.
Well, I don't understand why they've never discovered it before, and I don't understand why it's made of metal. You still haven't explained that.
Because I'm telling you, they've only just discovered it, so they couldn't have discovered it before because they didn't know about it, did they?
Yeah, but you've always said there's no point in exploring space because there's nothing to be found out there.
It says such discoveries are revolutioning scientists' understanding of how the solar system may have formed. Do you know how long ago this might have formed, this planet?
No, why don't you tell me?
4.6 billion years ago.
Really?
And it was only a cloud of dust and gas then, and when all that went, it was just left with the metal core.
Well, why is there only one?
What do you mean, why is there only one?
Well, I mean, if this was such a massive occurrence, why is there only one giant metal ball?
Well, because the rest all, evaporated, if you see what I mean.
They evaporated?
Yeah. It says here, Earth's core is at 3 million times the pressure on the surface and 5,000 degrees centigrade.
What does that mean?
I'll just finish. Psyche is the only large metal world in the solar system, and therefore the only planetary core that humankind will ever see.
Well,
how about that?
Well, it's not a planet, though, is it?
What?
It's not a planet.
It is a planet. It is.
No, it's an asteroid.
It's not. It's a planet, and it's made of metal.
I don't believe it.
It is. I've read you all the facts. I'm not going to repeat them. I'm not going to repeat them.
Is there a picture?
Okay? Is there a picture?
Yeah.
Well, of course there isn't a picture. How can you take a picture of something
Well, they've
that's...
got a Hubble telescope up there.
It's 260 million miles away. And, no, it's not. It's 260 million miles from
Russ says this. So according to Porky's theory, molten candle wax is actually metal.
No.
And while NASA are at it, why don't they launch Porky into space?
Hang on, excuse me. Since he sent that, I qualified the actual facts of the story to say it's made of nickel and... what else did I say?
Iron, you said.
Nickel and iron. It's made of iron and nickel. And that has been confirmed by Linda Elkins Tanton, who is a geologist and director of the School of Earth and Space Exploration at Arizona State University.
Right.
Okay?
So they found a massive giant metal asteroid. Is it coming anywhere near us? Do we have to worry about it?
Well, we haven't got to worry about it at the moment, but she says Psyche looks like it is a stripped naked planetary core, a remnant of the hit-and-run collisions that disrupted the early solar system billions of years ago. Such discoveries revolutionising scientists' thoughts. Yeah.
Well, it's fascinating
Well, everybody
stuff.
else can understand it, except you.
Why don't we get a proper guest on to talk about it so they can explain it instead of having to listen to your babbling on about it?
I have just explained it.
No, you haven't.
I've just explained it.
Not very well.
I've just explained it.
Now, how about this from Jennifer? Victoria Beckham lived in a huge house in Goffs Oak, Hertfordshire. Not a semi-detached
okay,
property.
but the other
her
members...
dad used to drop her off at school in a Rolls Royce.
The other members of her band, right, the Spice Girls, were brought up either in council houses or semi-detached houses.
That. You said she was brought up in a semi-detached house.
Her father didn't start living...
Just made that
her
up.
father did not start living in a mansion. Her father gave her...
Now I know why you like her so much.
Her entrepreneurial instincts, because he started life in a tiny terraced house and made a success of his business and ended up in a bigger house in, as you quite rightly say, Goffs Oak.
Well, Mitch says
nothing wrong with that.
Posh didn't come from a semi-detached house. Her dad was a millionaire and a nice Rolls Royce.
Excuse me, he became a millionaire, but he wasn't a millionaire when she was born, OK? That man had drive, initiative...
Well, it means that she didn't come from a semi-detached house.
Go-aheadness. Well, I'm sorry. What I'm saying is that all the instincts in which she has is that she got on with life and became a winner. And I like winners. I like winners. Yeah. And you, for some unknown reason, resent the fact that I like winners, recognise with winners, and am, in fact, the winner myself. Yeah. Because I've taken on that sort of mantle.
Yeah. How did that TV station go?
Anybody who's a success in life will have suffered some setbacks along the way.
Indeed.
You have suffered setbacks which you've never got over. That's why you will always amount to sweet FA.
He's getting so nasty. It's your birthday. You're supposed to be nice to everybody.
Yeah, well, I'm, decided.
Here's one from Mark. He says, "Did Danny Murphy tip you off about Posh Spice's OBE?"
No. And look, I haven't had any conversation with Danny Murphy today about who's taking over at Swansea.
Haven't you?
Danny has his sources. I have mine.
I see.
All I'm saying is that somewhere along the way, we could be, having the same sort of...
Does your source have the same initials as Danny Murphy?
No. We could be talking to the same sort of people.
Look at the time.
Listen, I've known Danny a long time. He and I mix in, isn't it?
Talk Sport, we are the two Mikes. Lots of people giving you quite a lot of support for your claim that the core of the earth is made of iron.
Thank you very much.
Daniel says the core of the earth is 80% iron. Porky has finally got something right.
Right.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
And Andy says hilarious irony in taking the mickey out of someone who's 100% correct in what he says. Mm-hmm. And Johnny B says, was it the giant ball that came out of Porky's stomach when he was a kid? Hashtag El Planco.
Bit harsh.
But Jedi says the earth has a core of solid iron and an outer core of liquid iron and nickel. Yeah. It is what generates our electromagnetic field.
Exactly. Thank you very much indeed. So would you like to apologise now?
No.
For, trying to take the mickey out of the scientific fact that I delivered during the course of this show?
I still don't believe there's a giant metal ball.
There is.
Somehow orbiting the sun.
Ah, yeah, but you didn't believe that the Earth was metal at the core, so you've got one fact completely wrong. Why don't you accept you've got the other wrong, OK?
Well,
Let's move on, shall we?
We should certainly move on, but I do not accept that just because one thing is right, that therefore everything else you say is right, because everything else you say patently wrong. Now, let's talk to Ian Ashby. He's a very enterprising young man, former Hull City midfielder. Everton, of course, taking on Hull tomorrow night.
Yeah, we are.
In the first Premier League game of the New Year sort of fixture season.
Well, it's actually this side of the New Year, but you're absolutely right. New Year weekend.
What I'm calling the New Year fixture session,
New Year weekend.
But he is a man who now sells luxury watches, right?
Yeah.
And we were talking about this because there's a lot of luxury watches on show in one of the papers today of various watches owned by various footballers, right?
Somebody's done a fantastic survey, and they must have spent weeks doing it, honestly. It's a brilliant feature, in my view. They've managed to take a picture of the watch on the wrist of every Premier League manager, and then, they've blown them up and examined them, and they've valued every watch.
And it's quite interesting, because Bob Bradley has got one worth 40 quid.
40.
Whereas Sean Dyche, 45,000.
45,000.
That's a lot of money for a watch. Let's talk to Ian, and maybe he's even sold some of these to us. Ian, a very good afternoon to you.
How you doing, chaps? You good?
Yeah, very well indeed.
Thank you.
I'll tell you what, it's a fascinating career move for you to go from being a footballer to a luxury watch salesman. How did that come about?
Well, the biggest watch, one of the biggest leading ones in the UK is in Hull, Blowers Jewellers. So it's in Hull. So I went in spending all my hard-earned cash as a player.
Yeah.
Kind of thought of, I was interested many years ago regarding it. So it felt natural for me to do it. I wanted to get out of football and have a break from football for a few years, and I found myself going down that path, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you've had a look at this top of the clocks list that the Mail have done today, but it's quite a fascinating insight into not only, I guess, the minds of individual managers and how much they've spent on their watches, but into the whole business of watches, really.
Yeah, I've had a little look at the article, and some of them have got it bang right, some of them have got it wrong. So, it's all. I always believe it's down to the personal preference of somebody and what they aesthetically like the look of. But there's always that element of where people want to have an investment piece, and there's a few of them who have got investment pieces there, and I'm not sure whether it's going to be, they're bothered on the sum of monies that some of them are on, but it's still always nice to know that you're putting your money into something that's going to residually hold value.
Well,
and a few of them have.
Ian, should a watch necessarily be bought because it's an investment piece? Shouldn't you buy a watch because A, you like it, B, it looks good on your watch, on your wrist, and C, it works very efficiently?
100%. As I just said there, aesthetically, you need to spend on what you like and what you what you like the look of, and what suits your way of life. And when I deal with the boys, which I have done on many occasions, I always give that honest advice. It's best to wear a watch that you like the look of.
Yeah.
But ultimately, boys and the managers and the lads being how they are, they like to know that their money's kind of safe in it. No one likes to throw money away. And if you're getting given bad advice or buying a watch that's not, in my opinion, holding its value, you wouldn't believe how many other lads haven't purchase pieces because they don't hold the value. So they're quite sharp.
Okay, now of all these watches, Ian, if you've seen this survey, have you? Which is the one that you would recommend as being the best pound for pound value for a quality watch?
Probably the Daytona. The Rolex Daytona Conti's got on, I think, is pound for pound at present. The Rolex Steel Sports, they've performed the best over the last 5, 6, 7 years. They've literally last month had a 10% increase in their values. Well,
that's just £10,000, right? Now that's £10,000, and yet,
and it says all the Chelsea players were given a version of that watch as well.
The Champions League win in 2012. But can I compare that then to my manager, Ronald Koeman, who's got a Rolex Sky Dweller, 38,500. You would say that the £10,000 watch, which is also a Rolex, is a better watch.
What I'm saying is Ronald Koeman's watch will not go up in value. He will take an initial hit first and foremost. What I'm saying is the Daytona has discontinued, the Steel Sports has discontinued. He's only probably paid around £7,000 for that watch originally because that's what the list price was, and because it's discontinued, that now starts to rise. So every 6 months to a year, he will have increments of maybe £500,000. Ronald Koeman paying £35,000. I would arguably pay him £22,000, £23,000 for that in the trade. So he's taken an initial hit on it.
So if you were going to buy, say, that watch that Conte's wearing, I mean, are you saying it gets more expensive at retail price as well? I mean, or are there collectors that want to buy a particular year?
Of course. There's Zenith movements. There's a whole realm of things with the Daytona we can go into. But the Daytona Steel Sports is a classic timepiece. And it's been discontinued now, so you can't physically go and buy that particular one in the shop window no more. So that then leads itself to being...
and presumably most of these guys, I mean, particularly some of the ones who are wearing specifically what look like sort of stopwatch type watches, like Bob Bradley. I mean, they probably have more than one watch anyway, right? I mean, they've got Eddie Howe with a £400 Apple watch, which is probably not his only watch, and Mark Hughes wearing a Polar V800, 339
quid. Probably for the heart rates when they're all going through the roof on the sidelines. Right. So, yeah, I mean Porky's
got a great big collection of watches. You've got, 26 watches? We did Porky's Watch of the Day a few months ago.
I've got a lot of cheap watches, but I've got a couple of good watches. Now, we sent you a picture today, Ian, of my latest acquisition, a very expensive Boss watch. What do you think of that?
I like the look of it. If you're happy with it aesthetically, then I'm happy for it. It's not a watch that we would stock.
Why not? Why not?
That's
it's not worth anything.
Sorry?
It's not worth anything.
No. Sorry, I'd like the expert to answer the question. Why would you not stock it in?
It's a fashion brand for us. There'll be hundreds and thousands of them out there that have been mass-produced, real poor movements in them, and they're sold because it says Boss on, and there'll be millions of them out there. But it's a fashion brand. Ours are luxury brands.
I do have a Rolex as well, you know, Ian.
I was wondering when you dropped that into the conversation. Tell him what Rolex you've got.
I've got a Rolex Oyster Perpetual.
Perpetual?
Okay.
Is that a good one to have?
Very good. Yeah, like I said, if you bought it over 6 months ago, which I'm assuming you have, you've gone and made yourself another 10% on top of it because it's just the UK list price for Rolex.
How much would you give him for it?
I need to see which one it is, mate, really.
Okay, I've had it for about 10 years, actually. One thing, Ian, that always worries me, or not doesn't worry me, but I see footballers, coaches, out on the training field with a tracksuit on, but a watch worth maybe 25 grand on their wrist. Now, I'm sorry, but if I go and pay 25 grand for a watch, I don't wear it when I'm out coaching in case, literally, I smash it, I slip over, I don't know. I mean,
Andy Carroll was almost...
relative, isn't it?
Andy Carroll was almost carjacked, wasn't he, for somebody who wanted his watch?
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I sell to the boys quite regularly, and some of the stories I'm having, I buy back off them because they're a bit uncomfortable with it. Yeah. You know, Sean Dyche has got a great watch in I think it's the 5990 Patek.
Yeah, that's it.
45. We've got one on our website as well. So
somebody's actually just tweeted us about that, saying Sean Dyche could buy a house in Burnley for 45 grand.
He could, yeah.
A street in Birmingham where I'm from.
Not a bit
What's
off.
the most expensive watch you've sold in?
£140,000.
Wow.
I've sold a Richard Mille. It's called a Richard Mille. I've sold one of them to one of the boys. So.
And that was to a footballer, was it?
It was, yeah.
Wow, yeah. So, I mean...
It wasn't Danny Murphy, was it?
No, I don't think it was Danny Murphy, no. Danny Murphy's a sensible young man. You keep referring to the boys, Ian, so is it fair to say that you are to footballers what, the Romans, the car dealers are to footballers when they want a new car? You do their watches, do you?
Well, listen, I'm on the radar with them. I think they trust me because I've played the game. I've been in the industry. I'll pop to hotels. I'll pop and see them.
Yeah.
They'll give me a text. I've got a couple of lads from Brighton at the minute. I've sold to quite a few of the Burnley lads. Also protects that probably Dicey's seen and like the look of, and then gone and bought his one on the back of.
Right,
that's what I'm saying.
And just one last question, please. I've got a friend who is a professional footballer. He's retired now, and he's been a manager as well. He's got such a collection of watches. He keeps them on movable saucers.
Winders.
Yeah, because these are they're not watches, they're chronometers, and they need like.
You've got one of those for your Rolex, haven't you?
No, I haven't. No,
you told me you did.
No, I haven't. No, I've never told you that. So is that a common practice as well?
Yeah, you need to keep the oils lubricated in the back for the movements.
Yeah.
There's some of these watches can take a whole year to make them. There's only a certain amount of watchmakers who can make particular watches. So it's a big industry, and putting them on watch winders helps them, and you need to get them serviced kind of every 5 years.
Yeah.
Once you get involved and interested in it, it's a great industry.
Yeah, well, mine went back to Switzerland for a service about 3 years ago.
I thought you took it to the guys in the white coats.
I did. In St James Square. Yeah. That's Rolex HQ, I think, isn't it, Ian?
Yeah,
I took it there. They kept it and they sent it off, and then I picked it up 4 weeks later. Yeah.
So nice little bill with that as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I don't mind that. If it keeps it in good shape. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great stuff, Ian.
Thanks,
Thank you very much indeed, Ian Ashby. There, fascinating job that.
Absolutely.
A very clever sort of piece of market spotting to go and become a watch seller to footballers.
Yeah, I
mean, you can't sell them. Imagine selling a watch for 140 grand.
That's right, yeah.
That's incredible, isn't it?
It is amazing.
Ridiculous. This is TalkSport. I'm getting a bit worried about him, I know he's a great hero of yours, right? Because I think he feels like... I think he's been trapped in some kind of time warp.
Why?
Because do you know what he's done over Christmas?
No.
Well, the first thing he did was he sent out to his fans on his website, right, basically a colouring sort of picture, so that people could colour it in. It was a picture of him.
What, you mean like painting by numbers?
Yeah, it was a picture of him, playing a guitar.
Oh, I see.
For his fans to colour in, right?
Right, yeah.
You put it out on Twitter. Download brand new colouring images of Paul here. Yeah. I mean, the thing that worries me slightly is makes him look as if he's kind of still doing like fanzine type stuff from the 60s.
Well,
and having not been satisfied enough with that, right? He then decided it'd be a great idea to put out for his fans a word search puzzle, right? 42-clue word search puzzle,
right?
Which has buried inside it titles of his best loved songs.
Yeah.
Well, do you think that's a bit weird?
I know Paul McCartney is very, very proud of his, his back catalogue, which has some of the greatest songs ever written.
So he should be.
And of course,
it's a bit weird to send out a picture that you can colour in of him.
Well,
it's the kind of thing you'd do in a Beatles fanzine about 1966, isn't it?
No, I don't think it is. I mean, there's two ways of looking at this. Some people who become megastars are always accused of not giving enough time to their fans and not being available enough and not communicating with them more. Paul McCartney's always been very, very keen on the bond between himself and the millions of Beatles fans.
Even you wouldn't want to colour in a picture of Paul McCartney, would you?
Well, maybe I wouldn't, but I mean, other people might. I mean, I think it's fair to say, isn't it, that Beatles fans are not just people of our generation. Beatles fans now exist going back 3 or 4 generations before us. After us. I mean, after or before.
Younger people. What do you mean?
Younger people.
You mean people younger than us?
People younger than us, that's
who like the Beatles. Well, I'm not sure there's that many of them. I mean, there are plenty of people.
There are.
I don't think there are people, say, who are of the 17, 18 sort of age group who like the Beatles.
Well, I wouldn't say 17 or 18, but we have a colleague who works here, a top-class producer, who is having a Beatles, one of the Beatles tribute groups as the entertainment at his wedding reception when he gets married this year,
Well, how old is he?
In his 20s.
In his 20s?
Yeah, in his 20s, yeah. And so I think you'll find that, the Beatles are still, people are always going on about the Beatles, but everybody goes on about the Beatles because they're a worldwide phenomenon.
I'd say that's a bit unusual.
Well, I would say what he's saying is, look,
weird.
He's saying it's available. You don't have to take it up on it. You don't have to take him up on his offer. You don't have to turn it down. It's there, and I think it's very endearing that Paul McCartney.
I just think it's a bit odd.
Still has a.
will you be doing the Beatles word search?
No, I won't personally, because I think I know quite a lot about the Beatles anyway, and I don't. You
got 3 out of 10 on the Beatles quiz.
Well, you say that, but you gerrymandered all the blinking questions.
I don't like the questions.
So that's. By the way, talking about pop groups and all that.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the Rockettes?
Yeah, of course. They play at Radio City Music Hall. They're not a rock group.
Right.
They're a dance act.
Right.
They're the sort of high-kicking, leotard-wearing Radio City Music Hall house band.
Exactly. So what I'm saying
I've seen them, in fact.
Right, you've seen them. Right, okay.
In fact, a friend of mine used to go out with one of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
Really?
Who's that? Who's that?
I'm not telling you.
Why not?
Because you don't know him.
Well, it's not a secret.
Eh?
It's not a secret. I want to know.
Yeah, well, I'm not telling you.
Why?
Because I don't wish you to have every single piece of information that I have.
So
because you're a blabbermouth and you don't. Maybe you might end up telling the wrong person.
So what we're saying is the Rockettes are not like, for instance, the Hollies. They are like more like all those muscle men guys who went around stripping off in the 80s. What were they called?
Chippendales.
The Chippendales.
No, they don't take the clothes off.
No, I know they don't. But what I'm saying is,
although the one that went out with my mate did, obviously.
Oh yeah, obviously. What I'm saying is they're an entity, and
they're dancers.
Yes, but they're not the same people all the time, are they?
If you what?
They're not the same people all the time.
What do you mean?
Well, what I'm saying is they're
like, say, the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, for example.
Yeah,
they
that's
dance.
right. That's right. Yeah, but what I'm saying is they're not a group that are now 50 years old. They are changed every couple of years when they lose their looks, aren't they? Yeah.
Well, it's not quite as brutal as that.
It is.
It's quite a strenuous job.
It's like Riverdance, isn't it?
Well, it's a bit like that. If you think of Moulin Rouge,
yes,
you ever
that's
been
right.
there?
Yeah.
You ever seen the Moulin Rouge?
Moulin Rouge, I have seen.
You've seen that?
I've seen it in Paris.
Where?
In Paris.
Yeah. Whereabouts?
In the Montmartre?
Yes, in Montmartre, yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I've seen it.
So it's a bit like that.
Yeah,
What they do is they come on to the stage in between whatever else is going on.
Right, I see.
You know what I mean? So they're entertaining the crowd in the absence of anything else on the stage.
Okay, that's great. That's what Riverdance started doing, and then they became a worldwide phenomenon because they were actually better than the...
I think I'm right in saying the Rockettes have never been on tour, but I think they only play Radio City Music Hall.
They do, you're absolutely right. Now, the reason I raised this is because... And they're all female as well, by the way.
Well, of course they are.
Female chorus line.
The men don't look so good in red leotards.
No, they don't. That's right. But anyway, the problem is that they've now been called by the new president to, perform at one of the inauguration balls.
Oh, right.
Okay?
Are they going to do it, or are they boycotting it?
Well, this is the problem. It says America's most celebrated dance troupe, the Rockettes, are in disarray. Female chorus line embroiled in controversy over what one member described as being forced to perform for this monster, Donald Trump, which I think is not a good way to talk about your new president.
Well,
really.
The difficulty is, that all of these people who are, again, a bit like the Remainers in this country who don't like the way that the referendum vote went.
Yeah.
They won't let it go.
No,
not go to the inauguration. There was some talk of some guys setting up a special anti-inauguration concert in Miami. Where all these bands are going to go and play.
Yeah.
I mean, just if you don't want to watch the inauguration, don't bother.
Don't bother. It says here, the management announced they'll be among the entertainment lineup at Mr. Trump's presidential swearing-in celebrations in Washington, D.C. on January the 20th. By the way, have you ever been to one of those?
What, an inauguration? No.
Oh, I have. The most magnificent ceremony, honestly. Yeah. I mean, it is America at its very, very best, you know what I mean?
But this one will be weird, though, because, of course, a lot of people are very, very anti the idea that Trump is going to be president.
It's supposed to be the cradle of democracy, so if they try and disrupt it, then they are basically knocking down the pillars of what they believe to be the freedom of the...
No, but I think it will be a very odd atmosphere, won't it? Because all the trendy people, all the sort of, the people, all the pop stars who came out on Hillary Clinton's side are all going to be trying to do something else.
That's right. But anyway, it's one Rockette who has remained nameless, so it's a very brave person, says... this is making our show, our job, our name branded as right-wing, an extreme right-wing organisation.
But why is it that whenever any other Republican president has been sworn in, there's never been this kind of nonsense, has there?
No.
When Bush was in, and when his father was in, when Reagan was in.
That's right, yeah.
Nobody said we're not going.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes as far as to say, this is not a Republican or Democrat issue, this is an issue of racism and sexism.
Oh, God, really?
Is it? Well, I don't remember that. I don't remember all that happening. I wouldn't feel comfortable standing near a man like that in our costumes.
Right.
I mean, they're trying to say
they
might get groped by the president.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a bit harsh.
You might grab them, you mean?
Yeah.
We can't go with that because, of course, it is a family show.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they make a living scantily clad.
That's right.
What are they
Absolutely.
talking about?
I don't know. I've no idea. But, the same thing has happened, hasn't it, many, many times when suddenly a politician on the road suddenly adopts some song. It doesn't matter whether they're left-wing or right-wing. Sometimes the group says, hang on, we didn't give you permission to adopt that song. Well, but there's nothing they can do about it.
Well, there is. They can say you can't use it.
Well, I'm sure they can.
They have done that in the past. In fact, Bruce Springsteen did it with Born in the USA. He stopped Reagan from using it.
That's right. And then didn't the Stones recently have a complaint about somebody using it on the song? I can't remember who it was.
But I think it was Donald Trump.
But they did. But then again, go on the other way and...
time, by the way?
When Bill Clinton...
Have you seen the time?
Excuse me, this is important. My
So's the time.
My former friend...
Your former friend?
Yeah.
Oh, you're not friends anymore?
Well, times change, don't they? And when he became president, he was asked, who would you like to perform at your inauguration? I went to his mother's inauguration ball, by the way. Bill Clinton's mother, her name was Valerie.
Valerie?
And I went to her inauguration ball in 91, I think it was.
Her inauguration ball?
Yeah, she had her own inauguration ball. They have about 30 balls in DC on the night of the
Any of them made of metal?
Eh?
Any of them made of metal?
Oh, made of metal, you fool. But anyway, he said I would like Fleetwood Mac to perform for me, and somebody pointed out, well, Fleetwood Mac actually broken up. He says, really? And they got back together.
Yeah, I'm sure they would.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder if they remember it.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport. Now, we're going to talk about pubs coming up very shortly with a gentleman called Colin Valentine from Camera, the campaign for Real Ale, of course. We might go to the pub a bit later on after the show, but can't give too much away, obviously.
No.
First, though, let's go to Dan Dawson, who's at Ali Pally watching the darts for us. Right. Dan.
Yeah, and Daryl Gurney has booked his place in the quarter-finals of the William Hill World Championship in an absolutely thrilling, tense game that had all sorts going on. The Northern Irishman has basically sulked his way to victory. He fell out with the crowd after missing 5 match darts for a 4-2 win against Mark Webster, the former Lakeside World Champion. It looked like he might have blown his chance because they were making an absolute racket every time he had a dart at double. He was trudging around like a kid who'd been given a smack bottom. It was really, really strange to watch. Refused to celebrate anything, but still managed to win the deciding set and book his place in the last 8 for the very first time in his career. Could be the world number 1 Michael van Gerwen, who he faces next. We'll see MVG tonight against Darren Webster. But coming up now, it's the big scoring Dave Chisnell and a former Lakeside World Champion in Jelle Klaassen. But it's going to have to go some to match the drama we've seen in the opening game of the afternoon. Gurney 4, Mark Webster 3. Dan Dawson, Alexandra Palace.
Cheers, Dan. Thanks very much indeed. Here's one from Brian who says, Bill Clinton's mother's name was Virginia, not Valerie.
What?
Virginia.
Virginia, that's right. It was, yeah. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Something else you got wrong.
It's a long time ago since I knew her.
Yeah, of course.
She's been dead quite a lot of years as well.
Let's talk to Colin Valentine. Because, I'll tell you why, what Camera are looking for is to get some protection for pubs. A lot of pubs shutting down, partly due to the smoking ban, partly due to redevelopment of areas in places like London and other cities. Let's find out from Colin what he's after. Colin, a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, gents. I hope you can hear me okay.
Yeah, it sounds like you're in a bit of a sort of tunnel scenario or something.
I'm in quite a large room with a bit of an echo. But, hopefully it's not too bad.
It's fine.
You're not in a pub then?
No, sadly not. No, I'm working today.
Well, I mean, I would have thought if you work for Camera, you could do quite a bit of work in the pub.
Yes, but not all the time.
No, sure.
No, exactly,
now, tell us a bit about this protection status that you want to try and get for pubs.
Well, what we're looking for, there's about 2,000 pubs in England at the moment that are listed as assets of community value. It means that the local community values them. Obviously, it kind of does what it says on the tin. Right. And they have planning protection, which other pubs don't have. So, you can turn a pub into a convenience store. Increasingly in London, they're turned into flats for they sell for lots of money. So you don't have to go through planning or the whole planning process if the pub's not listed as an asset of community value. Whereas if it is listed, then you have to go through planning consent. And what we're calling on the government to do is to give all pubs the same planning protection, because what happens is that the asset of community value process is very clunky, it's very time consuming. There's no consistency in councils throughout England, and often as not they'll say no, that you can't do this, and then every 5 years you've got to renew the listing. So we give them full planning consent. Then if you want to convert a pub into a convenience store, you have to go through the planning process. The interesting thing is that if you want to convert a convenience store into a pub, then you do have to go through the planning process, but not the other way around.
Now, Colin, I'm with you that far too many pubs are closing down these days, and for all sorts of reasons, supermarkets selling cheap beer and that kind of stuff. But one reason why pubs sometimes close down is because they weren't good pubs. They were very, very poor pubs. And I live down on the coast at a place called Gosport. I've counted 11 pubs that have closed down on the road from the motorway down to where I live. And yet...
And were they all poor pubs?
They were poor pubs because they were inhabited mostly by sort of ratings, sailors and that kind of stuff.
What's wrong with that?
Well, nothing's wrong with it except that they attracted one sort of class of person. And when the sailors disappeared because of, defence cuts and all that, then they disappeared. But... other pubs have opened. There's a place down there called the Sailmaker, which has opened. It's a new pub. It's sparkling. It's big. It's airy. It's light. People go there. So new pubs can still open and survive in this country, can't they?
That's right. Our figures show that about 25 to 30 pubs a week close their doors, and that's the net rate. So probably more than 30 close, but some will open. And not all pubs are going to stay open. We're not living in some kind of some idealistic 1930s, 1940s world where all pubs will stay open. Some will close, but the problem is it's not just the pubs that are on their uppers that are closing. There are successful pubs that are closed down as well, and it's those ones. It's those ones we want to protect. We're not saying all pubs must stay open because we know that's simply not going to happen. But let's make the developers, let's make the pub companies the owner of them. Let's make them go through the planning process the same as everyone else has to.
But say, for example, in a reasonably well-off part of London like Kensington, if some pub owner is offered a bucket load of money by the developer to just basically sell up, he's probably going to do that anyway, isn't he? Because the offer's almost going to be too good to turn down.
Well, that's right, and I'll never be in that position, so I couldn't say what I would do. But I think I would take the money. But what we are saying is that let's make them go through the planning process, and then you're not pitting the publican against the local trade. You're not building up bad feeling in the community. It means that they have to go through the planning process. If the local council pass the plans, then that's the end of the matter, and that's what we're asking the government to do, to make sure that they do have to go through council planning process.
Sure. But Colin, you can't actually interfere with the market forces and with the commercial cycle that takes place. Would you not also be as well to campaign in the same style as the owner of Witherspoons does, Tim Martin, against the very, very unfair loading of taxes on drinks and sold in pubs, and in fact the taxes loaded on pubs themselves?
Well, we do that. In fact, we were instrumental in calling for the hated beer duty escalator to be scrapped. In fact, when it was scrapped, I would say that it was CAMRA what done it, but it was an amalgam of drinkers, publicans, and breweries. Yeah. So yes, are pubs taxed too highly? Yes, they are. And do they get a fair shake? No. Do they pay more rates per capita than any other business in the UK? Yes, they do. And this is just another thing that drives pubs out of business. And successful pubs as well as pubs that have been lying empty for a number of years.
I mean, one of the things I notice outside of London, Mike, you may notice this as well, is a lot of pubs turn into, say, a Chinese restaurant or an Indian restaurant. There's a couple I can think of in Sussex that I pass on the way down there. Yes, they do, yeah. And they don't actually change effectively anything. It still looks like a pub from the outside. It pretty much looks like a pub on the inside, except it's just got a lot more tables.
That's right, and they don't to change from a pub to a restaurant. They don't need planning consent either, right. And that's what we're looking for. Again, just to emphasise the planning aspect. Because what happens now with pubs, most pubs certainly once you get out of the city centres, they have to offer food. When you get into the smaller villages, every pub does food. So the publicans are trying, but it's everything seems to be stacked against them. And pubs in this country, they contribute about £20 billion to the economy. Hundreds of thousands of people work in pubs, and actually the majority of people who work in pubs are under 30. And so there's employment there. It gets them started.
An awful lot of them are from overseas as well, aren't they?
I'm sure there's a mixture. You probably guess from my accent that I live slightly north of London. About 400 miles north of London.
Are you actually in Scotland then?
Yes.
How are you? Because interestingly, I mean, your campaign is only about pubs in England, isn't it?
Well, that's right. But I have the honour of being the chairman of the campaign for Elayo. So we cover the whole of the UK,
right?
And I spend a lot of my drinking time in pubs in London, in London and the southeast. So
so does Porky, funnily enough.
What?
Yeah, you spend a lot of time in pubs in London.
Are you mad? Are you off your rocker?
I did say my drinking time. I didn't say all the time.
No, exactly. I totally agree.
Yeah. Well, there's a £3.6 million fund which has been set up, right, by the government for this. Is that taxpayers' money?
Yes, it is.
That's a good thing.
So what's that going to be spent on?
Well, I think it's really a bit of a sop. What we want, we don't want handouts. We want fairness. You don't want favours. It's fairness, and £3.5 million. What's that going to do for 40,000 pubs? It's not going to go anywhere. Let's give them proper planning protection.
Yeah.
And then if the council say yes, this pub can be converted to a restaurant, can be converted to housing, then so be it. But let's make it democratic.
Right. But where is that? But what is that money being spent on, though? Sorry to ask you again.
Do you know what? I'm honestly not sure.
Okay. Maybe we can apply for some of it and take Porky out for his birthday. Colin, listen, thank you very much indeed. We've got to go. Colin Valentine, the chairman of CAMRA there, talking to us from the old country.
You know what you just said about they'll convert things into other uses, but they don't convert the building?
Yeah.
I nearly got arrested in Old Portsmouth once by walking into this pub. No.
What do you mean once?
Well, no, demanding a drink.
Yeah.
I was bladderate at the time. I'd been in other pubs, but I kept...
But it wasn't a pub.
They changed it to an estate agent, and I hadn't noticed. No, it's true. It's true. I said, what do you mean? What are you trying to tell me?
That's great.
And I was thrown out physically by two estate agents.
Well, how can you be thrown out by two estate agents?
I was.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Loads more to come. This is Talk Sport. Good afternoon, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to Two Mics on Talk Sport. It is a special birthday edition, of course. It is the Porkmeister's birthday, and he'll be doing a special birthday edition of the Porky Vision feature, which comes out a little bit later on today. The Porky quiz is tomorrow, and it's going to be a news quiz on 2016.
It certainly is.
And we'll see how well you do. You got none out of 10 last year.
That's
2015.
rubbish.
Absolutely unbelievable. We'll be looking ahead, of course, to the game tonight in the Championship, Aston Villa against Leeds, but also Rotherham taking on Burton Albion. Now, if Burton Albion win, who are you? Holloway will be going down by one more place. 08717
Who are you?
3344. You're listening to Two Mics with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. A couple of Beatles tweets for you. You're getting well treated today, by the way, because I think people are feeling a bit sort of birthday style nice to you.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you very much indeed for all your best wishes.
My son is 7 and heard me hearing my old Beatles records and became a fan. We're going to Vegas to see the Beatles Love Show in June.
Really? What's that then?
I don't know. There must be some kind of Vegas...
To look it up on your information device.
No, it's a Cirque du Soleil scenario.
Incidentally, I got 8 days a week for Crimbo.
Oh, did you? Have you watched it yet?
No, not yet. I haven't had time. And I got the Oasis one as well.
Oh, I got that one for my daughter, actually.
What's that called?
It was called Supersonic, I think.
Supersonic, yeah, I got that as well.
You haven't seen that yet?
And by the way, I've got some very good
with
news.
your mate Liam Gallagher.
My mate Liam Gallagher, yes, that's right, yeah. I've got some very good news for you as well.
Have you?
I have now acquired my own copy of House of Cards.
What do you mean you've acquired your own copy?
I was given it for Christmas.
Well, you've already got mine.
Yeah, but it's a tatty old...
No, it's not. I've never actually looked at it because I was sent it, by the way. No, because I was sent it, funnily enough, by my sister.
Oh, really?
I wasn't aware that I'd already watched it on Netflix, so I didn't need it.
Oh, you didn't need it?
It's not tatty at all. But when you bring it back, then?
Because
to be honest, the reason I haven't bothered getting you a birthday present is I thought, 'cause I'm not going to buy you anything until you give me that back.
Well, as you don't need it now because you see it on Netflix, and as it actually makes
somebody else.
Makes my apartment look pretty scruffy, I'm going to throw it away.
You're going to throw it away?
Yeah.
You better not.
Yeah.
You better not.
Why not?
If you throw it away, I'll come down to your place and I'll dismantle the metal door.
Oh, yeah.
And I will break in.
Yeah, there's no metal door, by the way.
And wreck the place. Yeah, you've got a prison door on the front of your flat.
No.
You have?
I'm talking about my South Coast pad.
Oh, it's down there, is it?
Yes,
You took it all the way down there?
Yeah, I took it down there, yeah.
Well, maybe you could keep a copy down there and a copy up in Stockbroker.
Well, that's what I thought I might do, actually, yeah.
Here's one from Chris, who says, I'm 23 and I love the Beatles. I always listen to them and I'm not listening to you clowns.
Well done. Thank you very much indeed.
He's calling us clowns.
That's not very nice, is it, eh? Yeah.
Now, by the way, what about this pub conversation we were just having? You never thought of owning a pub?
No.
Why not?
Why not?
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
It's too hard work.
Well, yeah, but you don't have to work in it. You just own it.
It doesn't work like that anymore. And to get anything right, to get any business right, you've got to actually be in the centre of it and put your time in. You can't just go around buying businesses and then employing people to run them, unless you give it your own touch. If you want anything done properly in this life, my view has always been you've got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Let anybody else
a
do
lot
it.
of footballers used to end up buying pubs when they retired, didn't they?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
But, sometimes they went well, sometimes they didn't.
They usually didn't.
Usually because they were just consuming the goods.
Well, I wouldn't say that. Some of them are very professional and some of them made businesses work. But, it's a terribly different discipline, having something done for you every day of your life and then having to do everything for yourself.
Yeah.
Particularly in a business which is so demanding.
But also in pubs now, which never close, basically.
Yeah.
You don't even get that time between, what used to be 2:30
that's right,
and 5
yeah.
or 5:30 to have a little bit of a rest in between.
But you honestly, to make anything work, you've got to be hands-on and do it yourself. And, you often mock me for my venture into satellite sports TV.
Well, that's because it went bankrupt.
It went bankrupt because I simply didn't have enough hands-on time to do it myself.
No, yeah, but you can't do everything yourself.
And you leave it to other people.
No, but you can't. Yeah, but you have to leave some things to other people.
I was unfortunately involved with some hopeless incompetence,
Well,
and
they say the same thing about you.
Yeah, they probably will. But I knew exactly how it should have been done, and I just didn't have time to do it. And there were too many people who were so ignorant of the business we were in, it was impossible. But anyway, these things happen,
Here's one from Stephanie the Red. In reference to Porky trying to get a drink from an estate agent, I once witnessed Alex Higgins trying to order a whiskey in a bank, which used to be a pub in Didsbury.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. A lot of banks turned into pubs. In fact, there's one on Fleet Street, isn't there, called Ye Old Bank, isn't it?
Well, it was a bank that turned into a pub, yeah. The other way round.
What did I say?
You said bank.
No. Bank turned into it used to be a major branch of something like the NatWest or the Midland or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's a massive place. And in fact,
by the way, have you noticed what they're doing to banks lately?
No.
That they're making them all kind of open plan.
Oh, yeah. And there's no people in them.
No, there's people in them, but they're all standing about. There's no kind of teller's window, as they used to call it in America.
I totally agree with you, and I hate it. And by the way, last time I went into a mobile phone shop, there was no counter. There was just a bloke standing there with a tablet. Yeah. And the last time I stayed in a hotel round here, remember we had a particular Christmas function and I stayed in town.
Yeah.
I walked in and...
no front desk.
There was no front desk. I was gazing around and a chap, very, very smart young man came up to me with a suit on and said, "Hello, sir, can I help you?"
How do you know if he's even working there?
Well, I don't suppose you did, really, but he had a tablet in his hand, and I said...
but anyone can walk around with a tablet. I can walk around with one.
Yeah, I suppose so. And he said, "Can I help you?" I said, "No, I don't think so, no." I said, "Where is..." literally, and I said, "Where is the..."
You're asking for a drink.
Yeah, where's the reception desk here? He says, "I am reception, sir." No, he wasn't American, actually. He said, "I am reception." And
Where was he from?
I don't know. He was from the continent or something like that.
He's Albanian.
No, he wasn't Albanian, but he had a foreign...
How do you know he wasn't Albanian?
I didn't ask him, but he didn't look Albanian to me.
He didn't look Albanian?
Most Albanian people...
He wasn't on a horse?
No. He wasn't sort of riding around, dragging a cart behind him or anything like that. But, no, I know he wasn't Albanian because I've seen pictures of a lot of Albanian people and they look Albanian.
Yeah.
So I would have recognised him, you know what I mean?
How about this from Johnny B? Porky mistaking the estate agents for a pub bladderated. They probably thought, there's that landlord from hell again.
Yeah, they could have done. But I'm not joking. This place I'm talking about, it's right on the corner of a street, which is like sort of the main drag down to Old Portsmouth. And then there's a cobbled road.
The main drag?
The main drag, yes.
We're not talking about Daytona here,
No.
We're talking about Portsmouth.
Yeah, Old Portsmouth, actually, which is distinct from Portsmouth. And then next to it...
They're talking about places you've insulted. Right, old dumb Portsmouth, I'll tell you that.
No, it's not.
It is.
No, I won't have that.
I've never seen anything like that place. We went and did a show at Portsmouth Guildhall.
Yeah.
I thought I walked out into some kind of Star Wars scene.
That's disgraceful.
Horrible.
But next to the estate agents, or what I thought was the pub, because it used to be a pub, you can tell it was a pub, and I knew it was a pub.
Where had you been before that then?
Oh, the 4 other pubs in the same street up to this one, you see what I mean? And I got to this one, and there's a cobbled street next to it.
So it must have been during the day then, right?
It was during the day, and I had a bit of double vision, I have to say, because it was one of the sort of long days. When
did you start?
Hey?
When did you start?
About 9 o'clock.
9 a.m.
Yes.
That's normal, don't you?
Well, there's a bar in what they call Gunwharf Quays, which used to be part of the shipping industry,
right?
And
so now it's a pub.
It's now a pub restaurant, and it's brilliant. Honestly, it opens at 9 o'clock every morning, and we're having a day out.
That's not good. I should encourage people to drink that early in the morning.
I don't encourage people to drink that early in the morning. It's once in a lifetime thing, and the thing is, we were celebrating something, and so we had a few there, and then we.
What did you say? We?
Yeah, a couple of friends.
Who was with you?
Couple of friends.
What, in Portsmouth?
Yes.
You've got any friends in Portsmouth?
Oh, I have, yeah.
Who are they? Who are you?
in the media business. And then we...
What, in the media business in Portsmouth?
Yes.
Well, this when you used to write a column for the Portsmouth Bugle?
No. It's called the Portsmouth News, actually.
Curtailed, wasn't it?
It's a very... No. It's a very fine newspaper. But
you know, I always remember that, because the last time that you left these parts, right,
Yes.
and you wrote a piece about it,
Yeah.
you didn't mention me at all.
Why would I mention you?
Because you did a show with me.
What? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about when you left Talk Sport the last time you left, right?
Yes.
And the piece
Well,
appeared.
I've only ever left once, actually. But,
Have you? Seems like more times than that.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, the one time that you left,
Yes.
for reasons that we don't need to go into,
Yes.
You wrote a piece in the Portsmouth Bugle about
Portsmouth News.
Was it Portsmouth News?
Yes,
was it?
very fine.
Which didn't mention me at all.
Why would it have mentioned you?
Because we did a show together. It's called The Two Mics.
No. All I said was that,
No, you left. You said that you had parted company with Talk Sport.
Yeah.
But there were many other things going on in your life. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You did not mention me at all.
I didn't think you were worthy of a mention, to be
Really?
honest. No, not
Marvellous.
really. You'd been you were in those days. You were just an itinerant who drifted in from some failed, knackered, closed down old radio station in Scotland. And I kind of rescued you. And so, what was the point of mentioning you?
Yeah.
Huh?
Well, I just thought I might have got a mention.
No, you didn't. No, didn't deserve one.
Thanks,
But anyway, on this particular day, we did the 3 pubs in the same street.
Yes.
On the way down.
How many hours would you say you spent drinking then?
that day?
Yeah. Say from 9 o'clock the start.
Yes.
You ended up in the estate agents presumably before 5.
Oh yes, about 3 in the afternoon.
So about 6 hours later.
Yeah, but you see, you have to understand. You're trying to make out like I'm some sort of
Drunk.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. But in fact, it was a champagne breakfast at the first
Was it?
venue.
You don't drink champagne?
I don't. But
So what did you have for your champagne breakfast?
I had champagne with orange juice in it.
What? Well, that's still drinking champagne.
Is that called mimosa?
It can be called that.
Yeah, mimosa,
Also,
that's
Bucks
right, yeah.
Fizz.
Yeah, but we had it with We had it with sausages and bacon and black pudding and all that. You see,
Right.
so that wasn't a huge drinking start at 9 o'clock.
So then you left there and went on to the
that
next
was
place.
breakfast till about 11:30.
So about 11:30, 2.5 hours of breakfast.
Yeah. But I mean,
And
mostly
then-
eating.
Yeah, mostly eating.
Yeah. And then a couple of libations and a couple of boozers.
Right. For
And
another
then-
couple of hours.
Yeah, and then we stopped for lunch. You see, at about
lunch?
about sort of 1:30,
Oh,
2.
okay. What did you have
And
for
then-
lunch?
What did I have for lunch? Fish and chips.
Fish and chips.
Yeah, I always do.
All right.
And then we got to the.
Were these other characters with you in the estate agents then? Or had you shaken them off by then?
No, to be honest, for some unknown reason, I had by then sort of gone solo on my on my mission, on the Federation mission. Yeah, I must have become bored or something with them. Yeah,
I bet you told them that you had to go home or something, right? This is your normal trick.
I could have. I might have said, because I sometimes get a bit objectional. I've had a few drinks. I
Yeah.
might have said.
Yeah,
Actually,
say that again.
Yeah, that's a bit harsh. I could have said. I've actually got somebody more important to meet,
Yes.
so you lot can push off.
Yeah, that's
now.
what you would
I think
normally do,
That's what
yeah.
I did say. Yeah.
Paddy says there's a Porky-themed pub would be legendary. The Porky Arms.
Porky
That'd be great.
Arms, yeah.
Maybe you should do it.
Well-
You're branching out into all kinds of things, doing the old Porky scratchings. Books, films, DVDs, podcasts. Why don't you open a pub?
Overseas tours.
Two Mike's pub. Be great.
Well, we'll have to think about that.
Yeah.
We need a backer for that, I'm afraid.
Yeah, all right.
Because I wouldn't be prepared to finance it myself on the basis that it might go the same way as the satellite internet
Indeed.
TV station.
Quite. This is Talk Sport.
As your TV reviewer, I can reveal
Yeah.
there are no plans for a new series.
Yeah, no, but wasn't there a previous series?
Oh, hang on, wait a minute. It says here there might be a new series. What's your problem?
That music means that it is time for Porky Vision, the
Yeah.
famous and celebrated TV
Yes.
review
Yes.
of all that's been going on over Christmas,
That's
I suppose,
right.
and possibly
That's
stuff
right.
that might be coming up over New Year. I
Yeah.
mean, funnily enough, we spoke to Kevin O'Sullivan yesterday,
Yes.
who was saying, to be honest,
Yeah.
the funniest thing he's seen over the whole Christmas period was Harry Kane's penalty last night.
That's right, yeah. And
Which
that
was pretty hilarious.
Absolutely terrific, yeah. And Harry Kane did very, very well out of that. He made a joke of it and said, I'm going to go and play for an NFL team.
Yeah, that's
We want a
right.
kicker. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. So what have you been watching?
Well, I have
You've
to
been
say...
very busy, haven't you?
Been very busy, but I managed to get to do my duty.
Have you?
And so I watched... now, I'm not a great fan of Agatha Christie, are you?
Aren't you? Well, do you know, some of those early movies
Yeah.
with Peter Ustinov,
Yeah.
I used to quite like Murder on the Orient Express, I quite enjoyed.
Yeah, I did. No, it was too
Did you?
long and
Too
and
long?
too flabby. Yeah, all programs are too long these days. So anyway,
It was a film.
So,
It was a film.
yeah,
though.
but it was too long, too drawn out. Anyway, so what happens is
Yeah.
I tune into What was it called?
I don't know.
It was. Hang on. It was.
Was it Agatha Christie book?
It was. Yeah, it was an Agatha Christie book.
Was it Murder on the Orient Express?
I think it was Witness for the Prosecution.
Witness for the Prosecution. Yes,
Yeah,
I've heard of
that's
that
right.
one,
Yeah. And
Is it a film?
What?
Is it a film?
No, it's a two-part series.
Drama.
Two-part drama. Two-part drama.
It's like Game of Charades, this.
It is a bit like Game of Charades, yeah. So anyway, what happens is,
Yeah.
I'm thinking this is going to be really kind of, I don't know, mysterious.
Yeah.
Because it's Agatha Christie.
Well, it's meant to be a murder mystery.
That's
isn't it?
right, yeah. So anyway, what happens is, it actually turns out to be all about Rogerisation.
Really?
Oh, lots of horizontal refreshment in it, yeah. And
Family show, this, you know.
well,
I've already had tweets from mothers.
Yeah, I can only tell you what
Yeah.
I've been watching. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all I can do.
Okay.
And they also said they wanted to hear another story about the person Norman that we've been talking about. But
Well, they did. But
it
that
is
doesn't
a
have to be
family
that
show.
kind of story.
No, it doesn't have that sort of story. No.
No.
Anyway, so what happens is this chap goes to this gentleman's club.
Right. What sort of gentleman's club?
Well, you know.
What, like one of those ones in sort of Whitehall? One of those
Yes. No, a bit more
like
seedy.
the
than that.
RAC?
More like Soho. More like
Oh, really?
Soho, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Where there are a lot of, sort of women of dubious character.
Hmm.
And anyway...
Was Norman Luck there with a stopwatch?
No. Norman wasn't over to stopwatch. No. Norman used to frequent places like that, actually.
Yeah, never mind that.
Yeah. But anyway, so what happens is this place is also frequented by a very well-to-do lady because she knows that's where young men congregate.
Okay.
And although she's in her 40s and starting to show signs of wear and tear,
Wear and tear?
Yeah, you know what I mean, yeah.
It's a bit sexist, isn't it?
It is a bit sexist, sorry about that. Of maturing gracefully.
Okay.
She picks up this young chap, and she takes him home and bathes him in a bath.
Bathed him?
Yeah, bathes him, yeah.
What's this got to do with witness for the prosecution?
Well, I'm about to tell you,
Yeah.
so if you just shut up and
All right,
listen.
okay. Get on with it.
I'm a crafted and gifted TV reviewer,
Gifted,
mate.
yeah.
So what happens is...
gift you to somebody else.
He then starts Rogerising her.
Yeah, all right.
And we know this because the maid is looking through the keyhole.
Really?
Yes, so
You
yes.
sure this is Agatha Christie you're watching?
This is Agatha Christie, definitely. This is definitely Agatha Christie. And actually, as the tale unfolds, he actually gets quite a kick out of the maid watching him,
Oh, so he knows,
Rogerising
yeah.
the mistress,
Okay,
you see.
right.
Because the maid is devoted to the mistress, and, she warns this guy all the time,
Okay.
don't let my mistress down, otherwise, I'll sort you out and all this kind of stuff, right?
Right.
So anyway...
Can we move on to the prosecution bit?
Yes, okay, yeah. So anyway, the mistress goes out, the maid goes out one night.
Right.
Oh, sorry, that's my new watch, which is knocking
Yeah.
on the door. It's a big watch, yeah.
It's a horrible watch, that,
No,
actually.
that's
What
the one
kind is it?
It's a Boss. In fact, I'll put out a picture of it afterwards.
Okay.
Anyway, so
I'm wearing a Boss watch today as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not as good as mine, though. Anyway, so what happens is, the maid goes out,
Yeah.
and you kind of get the impression she's on the lookout for a bit of action as well, you
Really?
know? Yeah.
Sure, it's definitely not an Agatha Christie sounding story.
It is definitely Agatha Christie.
I mean, there was none of that on Murder on the Orient Express.
Well,
It was just a lot of, a lot of
it's
people
not,
on a train. Somebody got murdered. And
it's
then,
not easy to get the privacy for horizontal refreshment on
Yeah.
a train.
Okay.
So, anyway, she's coming back from her sort of rather mysterious night out.
Right.
And she sees the young man at the door of the house.
Yeah.
And he runs off.
Oh, yeah.
She gets into the house. She finds her mistress has been brutally battered and murdered and is lying on the floor in blood.
Oh, I see.
And then the cops arrive. And then...
Was this set sort of in the olden days?
Victorian.
Right.
Victorian times.
Okay, it's a bit of fog then.
Yeah, pea super.
Pea super.
Pea super fog swirling around. So anyway...
There's meant to be a lot of fog today, by the way. There wasn't any.
Well, it's very cold today.
Yeah,
People
no, I
told
know.
us it's going to be the mildest Christmas for, 100 years.
Yeah.
Wasn't.
It was the coldest night last night of the whole winter in Wales, apparently. Minus 7 degrees
Is
somewhere.
that right?
Yeah.
It's bad luck if you're living in Wales, but most people don't.
Bob Bradley doesn't anymore. Bobcat doesn't live there anymore.
Bobcat doesn't live there anymore. No. Go back to the warmer climes. Anyway, he runs off, so the cops arrive, and then she says, I know who's done this. So the cops go and find him. Right. And there's quite a brutal scene where he's in his...
So you're going to go and get some violence in the afternoon.
Yeah, there's a bit of violence in, yeah. Where he's back, because he's got a wife, you see, except if she's not his wife. They're not actually married. But
well, so he hasn't got a wife.
People thought they were married. They live together.
I see.
And and he's told his wife that actually all he does when he goes out at night is he goes gambling, you know, because he makes money out of it, and he goes to these seedy clubs to, you know, use the
She's buying that,
the tables. Well, yeah, up till now. Anyway, the cops walk in and they say, "Are you, Victor Matthews?"
They're Russian, these guys, are they?
No. But actually, his name wasn't Victor Matthews.
No, he used to own the Express.
He did, yeah, Lord Victor Matthews used to own the Daily Express, that's right. And Cunard, actually, funny enough.
That's right,
the shipping line.
Yeah.
So when he says yes, this guy takes this huge sort of baton out, you know,
light stick.
Yeah, and smashes him across the face,
Right.
you know, knocks him out. Just seems a
I'm
bit...
sure this doesn't sound like Agatha Christie at all.
It is Agatha Christie. So anyway, they drag him off to a cop shop. You know, in fact, it's a jail. Actually, I think it's one of those notorious jails like Newgate.
Oh yeah.
And then this very ugly solicitor turns up. Do you remember me reviewing a show about a really horrible, pug-faced, ugly little bloke who tried to join the revolutionaries before the Second World War and blow up Greenwich Observatory? Do you remember?
Oh, was this the one?
Toby Jones? Was that the name of the guy?
Yeah, I know the guy.
Toby Jones.
Yeah.
Well, he hasn't got any better looking. He's in this one as well.
Oh, he looks the same as he always did.
Yeah, he does, but
He's quite a short guy, right?
Short guy. He looks almost...
Was this the guy that owned the shop that had all the kind
pawn
of...
shop?
Well, yeah.
P-A-W-N.
Yes, but it also had a back room.
Had a back room, that's right, yeah. So... but I mean, I don't know whether they give this Toby Jones character, who's an actor, like prosthetics to make him look like weird and ugly and with a deformed face.
Well, he's just got kind of an unusual face, hasn't he?
Has he got an unusual face?
I would say so.
Yeah, okay, maybe he's just got an
Kim
unusual face.
Cattrall's in this.
Who?
Kim Cattrall.
Kim Cattrall?
Yeah, from Sex and the City. You know, the
is
American
she?
woman who's actually from Liverpool.
Is she?
Well, she's in it. You've seen it.
I think she's the one who's been murdered.
Well,
you've just reminded me. She looks like the one who's been murdered.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
She played Samantha in Sex and the City.
Samantha, that's right, yeah. I think it's the same woman. Same woman.
Must be, yeah.
So, anyway, he comes along and, says he'll defend him. And he says, I haven't got any money. And he said, oh, don't worry about that. You know, we'll win your case and I'll be famous and all this kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But then
He's penniless, apparently.
What?
He's penniless.
Who?
That character you're talking about, the solicitor.
Excuse me, I'm supposed to be doing the review.
I'm just telling you a few...
I'm supposed to be in the review. They don't, I just don't hear from you.
What happens at the end? We're out of time now.
What?
We're out of time now.
Well, I thought
I've only seen the first part.
No, I thought I'd make this a two-part review.
Oh, what's the second part next week?
So good. Now, the other thing I've seen...
There, then.
No, the other thing I've seen is Jonathan Creek.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Really good.
Special edition. Well, that was quite good. It started with a big haunted house.
Right.
And a demented old guy,
right.
Who wanted to get his vengeance on somebody before he dies.
Yeah.
So he calls in Jonathan Creek.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And obviously it's all about, dead bodies turning up all over the place. You know what I mean?
Is he not one of these guys that sort of investigates paranormal type things as well?
No.
No?
No. He investigates things where people try to make out they're paranormal.
Oh, I see.
But in fact, Jonathan Creek always says there's got to be a logical
But there is a
explanation.
paranormal sort of aspect to it.
Not really, because Jonathan Creek says magic can only happen if it's, factual, relevant and explainable. It can't be done if it's not.
Right.
There's one sort of mystery in the Jonathan Creek thing, and that is that for some unknown reason, some bloke who we don't even know who he is climbs into a box, which is the box used to cut people in half.
Oh, yeah, the magic trick box.
Yeah, the magic trick box.
Like David Blaine sort of thing.
That's right, yeah. But and he gets carted off in that, and I haven't quite worked out whether he's ever going to surface again.
Really?
Or what
it's a one-off special, isn't it?
It's a one-off special.
Well, surely it's resolved by the end.
Well, I haven't seen the end.
You haven't seen the end?
No.
How much have you seen? Any of it?
Yeah, I saw the first 20 minutes, but I didn't have time to watch any more of it. So I thought I'd catch up on that one again
Well,
sometime.
thank you. Very good.
Yeah, okay?
Yeah, I'm sure people will be very much better informed now.
Well,
about
you've got to leave a bit of mystery hanging in the air. That's what I say.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more, in fact.
absolutely.
This is Talk Sport.
That was Porky Vision. And I'm thinking in particular, two old friends of mine.
Yeah.
Aled Jones.
Aled Jones.
Old
friend of yours.
We're flying through the
air. Is it walking through the air?
Walking, that's it. We're walking through the air. Right.
So when was the last time you spoke to Aled?
Well, not so long ago. I went to a first night in the West End, and of course he's a very cultured man in terms of the arts and the theatre.
Yeah.
And we...
What did you go and see?
A new production.
He's not been on yet, has he, Aled? Your old mate.
Busy.
He's busy, is he?
Yeah.
Maybe you'll see him later. Mm-hmm. For a double birthday celebration. Now, a lot of tweets have come in on Porky Vision.
Well, I usually get quite a shoal of post and reaction.
A shoal, yeah.
To the TV review.
It's more of a tidal wave of disbelief, really.
I don't think so.
Here's one from Def, who says this. Porky Vision scared me to death. I will never watch telly again. Porky should go on Jack and Ori.
Is that from a guy called Def, did you say?
Def, I think, yeah.
Yeah, Def.
D-E-F.
Well, yeah. Well, Def, you know.
Now you're going to start insulting us because he's had a go at you. Russ says this. I've never heard such a hapless, convoluted, inept TV review. Porky Vision once again up to his epic codswallop standard.
You were listening properly.
And Russell says, I've seen this, and not only doesn't it sound like a Christie novel, it doesn't sound like the one I saw. Plank.
Oh, really?
Also, people have said it wasn't set in Victorian times. It was set just after the Great War. Which is not Victorian times, is it?
That is true. 1924, I think.
Marcus says, Parry's making this up. The plot was nothing like that.
It was.
Well, apparently it wasn't.
Of course it was. I saw it. That's what happened.
No, really?
Yeah.
And here's one from Keith in Worcester. Fantastic. Trust Porky to give a film review that's actually longer than the film itself.
Yeah, it wasn't a film. It wasn't a film.
And Porky's very accurate description of witness for the prosecution so far. I must say, I've never seen an Agatha Christie like that before. I thought the blonde was hot, says Tony the Welk Man.
Well, you see, there's Tony the Welk Man being a bit sexist, you know.
Bognor Beach again.
Nobody's going to criticise him, are they?
Absolutely. A superb and well-informed Porky Vision, says Mick.
Thank you.
And Dr. Tim says, I had no idea that Mike Parry was a member of the Inner Magic Circle.
Yes.
First-class explanation of magic.
Thank you.
Have you ever learned to do any magic tricks?
No.
Never? Well, not even as a kid. Did you have a magic set?
No.
Everybody had a magic set.
No, I didn't have a magic set, no.
Why not?
I always thought it was, superfluous. I've never been into magic, really. Best magic, I thought, always was Tommy Cooper, when it all went wrong.
Yes.
That was...
well, he was very smart at that, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, I tell you who I thought was great was old, the poor lad who died this year, or was it last year, who was married to Debbie. Paul...
Hey?
Paul, the magician I'm talking about, Paul.
Yes,
Paul.
I know. Yeah, the one who was married to Debbie Thingy.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Paul Daniels.
Paul Daniels. Yeah. I thought he was very good because he didn't take himself at all seriously.
Well, I must admit, I like Penn and Teller actually.
Who?
Penn and Teller. Two American magicians. Very good. Aren't they the two? They do a huge show in Vegas now.
Aren't they the
Penn
two?
Jillette is the very tall one.
Who in the end betrayed their now...
Well, no, they make an absolute habit of that. They explain how they do the
That's
tricks.
what I mean, yeah.
And the short guy, Teller, doesn't speak.
Some accuse them of having betrayed the magic circle, don't they?
But
and all that kind of
rubbish,
stuff.
Isn't it?
But I tell you what, I saw a documentary on Paul Daniels once, right? And he never took himself too seriously. He learned his craft and all that. But he told once how it was something like he was about to be court-martialed or something. He was in the Royal Navy.
Oh, was he?
Or the Merchant Navy or something like that. Yeah. And to get out of it, he said he'd do a magic trick.
Oh, yeah.
No, seriously. I mean, this is the tale he told. Or he might have been on a boat and he was going to be thrown overboard by, pirates or something.
I don't think you can get out of being court-martialed by doing a magic trick.
Well, anyway, what happened was he did the old vanishing card trick and somehow managed to get it on the other side of the glass of the porthole in the cabin they were in on a boat.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, and in those days we didn't have the sort of... what's the word he used? Well,
trickery. I suppose.
No. The modern appliance of science that people like old Dynamo use. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Not I'm saying that Dynamo's not a great magician. He is, but I mean
he's very popular
and very sophisticated. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now we were talking about Norman Luck earlier. There's one more story we should tell about.
Well,
right?
should we? I think people are saying it's a family show.
This one's definitely PG. Okay. This particular story, and you've touched on it before when we talked about how, in addition to and he was a great reporter actually. He broke a lot of very big stories.
Oh, he's a terrific reporter,
and he was very sort of conscientious and always got to the bottom of what it was he was looking for.
Yes,
but he also,
particularly the ladies involved.
Well, indeed, but he also did on the side a DIY column.
He did,
which was sponsored by somebody like one of the big
always
DIY
sponsored
companies.
By somebody,
And he basically did up his entire house.
He did,
based upon the fact that he would not only get paid extra for this column.
If you saw him with a roll-up garage door, he'd been reviewing it.
Yeah, but so there were constantly people going around doing stuff up for nothing, right? That he would then feature in the paper. And he got sent to a war zone in the Middle East. It was somewhere like Beirut, I think it was.
It was Beirut, I think.
Was it 6 Day War or something like that?
And, no, it was the Lebanese Civil War. Actually.
Lebanese Civil War, and he was out there for quite a while, a few days anyway.
Right.
And it was very difficult to get a line back to London in those days because you had to still dictate the copy over the phone.
And you had to queue up down at the switchboard in any hotel and bribe the hotel operator.
Sometimes with a bottle of whiskey, sometimes with US dollars or whatever it was. And he finally found himself bribed his way to the front of the queue.
He did,
and behind him were a whole load of very, very sort of senior, what you might call broadcast journalists, and also sort of broadsheet types from the Times and the Sunday Times and all that.
And from America as well.
And from
New York Times.
New York Times.
Yeah.
They were all queuing up very, very happily, waiting to...
well, not happily. Everybody was on edge.
Well, they were on edge, but they were trying to get through to their various offices to tell them whatever it was. And Norman gets the hold of the phone, and the copy takers pick it up, as they always did. It's Norman Luck here in Beirut. Right, thanks very much indeed. What's the catch line? And the catch line normally would be what you would call the story. So you would call it, War 1 or, Beirut 2
Explosion.
or something like that. Explosion, death. But he said roofing.
That's right.
And the guy said, what? He said roofing. He said, "You're in Beirut." He said, "Yeah, it's about roofing." And he then dictated his DIY column.
He did
for that week's paper.
It's about putting tiles on a roof.
About putting tiles on a roof in front of all of these people who had been sort of Pulitzer Prize-winning war correspondents who couldn't believe their eyes, or their ears.
No, and
they got very upset with him.
They got very upset because he took about an hour to get it through. And in those situations, by the way, you are constantly having to back up to a wall and use your feet to kick people to keep them away.
Keep them away.
They get enraged.
Or they're trying to cut you off. And all kinds
trying
of
to
things.
cut you off. There's only one line out of Beirut. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And you know what? That week, Norman wasn't even asked to do a DIY column because he was away. But Norman...
Well, he did it anyway.
Oh, he was very careful with the pennies.
The extra money.
He was very careful with the pennies, Norm. And I think in those days he was paid, the equivalent of like £60 a week or something for his column.
Yeah.
And...
he didn't want to miss one.
And there's no way he was going to miss that.
Didn't want to miss one. Then he had to go back to the back of the queue to file his story about the actual war.
That's right, about the actual war taking place, in which something like 150 people had been killed, something like that.
Now, coming up, we've got a lot to do as well.
Yes.
We're going to look ahead to this game tonight. Aston Villa in the Championship. Big game for them, taking on Leeds, of course.
Yeah.
And Gary Monk must be watching events in Swansea with a wry smile.
Yeah.
But also, we'll talk a little bit about who are you, who, as I said, could drop down one place without even playing. Also, there's an interesting Everton story I want to ask you about as well.
Okay.
Right now, we're going to go to Dan Dawson, who's at Ali Pally, watching the darts for us.
Yes, and the world number 7, Dave Chisnell, looking good for a place in the quarter-finals of the William Hill World Championship, where he would go up against the defending champion Gary Anderson. He leads 3-1 against former Lakeside World Champion Jelle Klaassen. Chizzy taking the first 2 sets. Klaassen with some real moments of quality, but they're only moments. It's not consistent enough. He was on the 9-darter, missed the 7th dart for it, took out a great 140 checkout to win the deciding leg of the 3rd set. But Chizzy's just rattled off 3 consecutive legs to take the 4th. He is 1 set away from a place in the last 8. Already seen Northern Ireland's Darrell Gurney book his place there, sulking his way to victory after falling out with the crowd, but still producing good enough darts to beat Mark Webster in the deciding set, winning it 4-3. He could face the world number 1 MVG next. He's on the way tonight. Dan Dawson, Alexandra Palace.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. The Porky quiz tomorrow, of course, a year-ending special. It'll be a quiz on 2016 and the events of that particular year, the 12 months up to now. Could be a few sporting questions, could be a few, I suppose, general questions. I don't know.
Just hit me with them, man.
I will do, but that'll be tomorrow. Right now, we're going to talk to James Nursey from the Mirror because a big game coming up tonight in the Championship, Aston Villa against Leeds.
Absolutely.
And Aston Villa on a bit of a resurgence, I suppose, under old Steve Bruce. James, a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, guys. Season's greetings.
Yes, indeed. Absolutely right. Well, I mean, there are a lot of football clubs that I suppose are in much worse trouble than Aston Villa and Leeds at the moment in terms of where they are, I suppose. But what I was saying earlier was Gary Monk sitting there in Leeds must be wondering what on earth he got away from in Swansea. Yeah,
I think so, and there must be some Swansea fans and directors who rued the day that they sacked him. Directors are notoriously loath to admit they made a mistake, but I think most neutrals looking at it objectively would say Swansea's loss has very much been Leeds' gain, and the fortunes of the club and the manager are going in different directions right now.
I mean, they're not far off the playoff. Well, they're sort of technically in a playoff spot, I suppose, already, aren't they? I mean, are they destined for the Premier League, do you think, at the end of the year?
I don't know about destined for the Premier League, but certainly Monk has made a massive difference and improvement there. And what's really admirable is that he's achieved all this despite a torrid start when a lot of people expected him to become the latest casualty of Chilino's reign as a controversial chairman. But he's weathered that out, which must have been character building, and he's shown a lot of belief to really turn around what we all know is a is a huge club, and it's good for the Championship and English football that a young manager like Monk is making his way in the game again and at a big club.
Well, I totally agree with you. Now, never mind about teams going down. Aston Villa, of course, are on the way back up, aren't they, James? Quite a dramatic reversal of fortunes since Steve got there.
Yeah, I'm based in the Midlands, and I know firsthand that there's a real buzz around the club again under the new ownership of Dr. Tony, as they call him around here. And of course, the new manager coming in, Steve Bruce, has made a massive impact. 2 defeats in 12 games. He took over from Roberto Di Matteo, with the club potentially looking at a second successive relegation, but he's now rekindled belief that they could have sneak into the playoffs and mount a promotion charge. And if you look at that squad on paper, there's some real talent in it, some experience, some championship pedigree, and they'd be a good wager right now to sneak up via the playoffs, I think. And tonight will obviously be a test.
I think that their chief executive got a bit to do with it, Keith Winness. I know Keith very well. He was formerly the chief executive at Everton. Always regarded him as a very able football administrator. Do you have much to do with him?
I know he's been popular with the Midlands press because he's been approachable. He's an experienced hand, and certainly when he unveiled Steve, he spoke a lot of sense. And he wasn't afraid to make that brave decision.
Exactly.
To pull the plug on Di Matteo when it was going wrong, because it was quite an early call when they pulled the trigger. But it's already been vindicated because it's just the 2 defeats in 12 as we've seen it. And Bruce is playing a much more realistic game, if you like, for the Championship. Switched to more of a 4-4-2. He's trying to get the ball from front to back quicker, playing a more pragmatic style, whereas Di Matteo was a bit more of an idealist, trying to play his way out of the Championship. Yeah. And we all know what a brutal division it can be at times, and I think that was a bit naive, to be honest.
So they're a bit harder to beat at home now, so it won't be easy for Leeds tonight, then, you said?
No, absolutely. Villa have got goals in their team, they've got pace. They're probably one of the teams you'd least like to face in the Championship right now, and obviously they've got experience in the dugout, so it's going to be a very tough test for Leeds tonight. Let's see how they get on. It will be a good examination of their credentials as potential promotion winning team, and also it'll be a good gauge to see how Villa are getting on, because there's going to be a big crowd and expectation around them tonight, and the home fans will be expecting a win.
Yeah, and another game going on in the Championship, which you might not be paying quite so much attention to, but we are, because of our interest in QPR and Ian Holloway, because Burton Albion play Rotherham. If they get a draw or win, they'll jump over QPR and put QPR down into 21st place, just one slot above relegation.
Well, it's not looking a great decision to appoint Ian Holloway right now, is it?
It's not.
I mean, I personally heard that he wasn't their first choice for the job. I heard Gary Rowett round here could have had the job if he wanted it. He didn't, and of course, obviously, rather ironically, he's now out of work.
Indeed.
But, Holloway's gone in there looking to turn back the clock to the times he had at Blackpool when he got them promoted and got them playing with an attractive game, but it's just not gone to plan.
No, it's not gone his way. He's been left behind. He's been left behind, James, as managers do if they're out the game, for any period of time. And I thought he was so thin-skinned the other night when he heard the fans chanting, sacked in the morning, and he had sacked in the morning. You can't be like that if you're a manager in that sort of environment. You've got to face up to those things, and I think he's lost it.
Yeah, I think you may well be right. James, listen, enjoy the game tonight. Thanks very much indeed. Aston Villa taking on Leeds. But as I say, quite more importantly for Ian Holloway anyway, Burton Albion taking on Rotherham, who are bottom of the table. Yeah. And a draw or a win puts Mr. Holloway, who are you, a bit further down the table.
Who are you?
Now, by the way, did you know that Paul Clement, formerly from Real Madrid and Chelsea and that sort of place, and Derby he was at as well, has been possibly approached by Swansea as well. Apparently he was approached before Bobcat Bob was actually appointed.
I think you'll find he's one of the main contenders, and I think you'll find that you mentioned...
Oh, you haven't mentioned him before.
Well, no, listen, I have my sources, other people have theirs, but Danny Murphy, who I mentioned before, was in the show before this one.
Who wasn't your source.
Who was not my source at all for my theories on who may be the next Swansea manager. Yeah. But I know Danny, has a very detailed and insightful view on Clement, and I'm talking about it in our show. Yeah, so Danny's way ahead of me in the game there, but
he's definitely not the one who told you about Hodgson.
Danny never told me about Hodgson. No. Why would I repeat something another fellow broadcaster had told me?
And pass it off as your own?
and pass it off on my own.
Yeah,
why
would
I do that?
I can't believe you'd ever do anything like that.
I mean,
now, here's a serious question for you. I don't know whether you've seen. There's an interesting piece in The Guardian today.
Yes.
Right, and it's all around Greg Clark, the chairman of the FA, and his time before the MPs,
Right.
a few months ago, well, back in October, actually. But he was asked a question, which I don't think has come out before, but he was asked a question by the Chester MP, funnily enough, a guy called Chris Matheson, who's an Everton season ticket holder.
Yes.
And he was asked if he'd ever heard of a company called the Vibrac Corporation, Vibrac Corporation. And it's all a bit shadowy, this. It's all about how somebody like Sir Philip Green, through people like Robert Earl, who's a big Everton fan, of course, and a company which is registered in the British Virgin Islands, has been putting money into various football clubs in Britain, including Everton, but also including several others.
That's the allegation, is it?
Well, I think the paperwork, the paper trail leads back to it, but they're saying that this guy says, I understand that Sir Philip Green had something of a role as a shadow director at Everton, including having the accountancy firm PricewaterhouseCoopers conducting an audit of the club and summoning the chief exec and the team manager to BH's headquarters to discuss transfer budgets. Well, a bit weird, isn't it?
I don't know anything about that. What I know is that any club that feels it's looking for outside investment is going to go and see some of the richest men in the country, of which Philip Green has been and maybe still be is.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, certainly they quote Bill Kenwright in the story having said a few years ago, well, I would never say, if I ever wanted to sell shares to Philip Green in Everton, he'd always say no, because he'd say nobody will buy, and Liverpool fans will buy my stuff. Yeah. So he never wanted to be associated with any particular club.
To be honest, I don't know anything about all of that. I know that within the world of high finance, there are wheels within wheels. Yeah. And
I think what they're trying to do as well is close various loopholes which make it difficult for offshore companies. Because this seems to me to be more of a story about offshore companies than it is about Everton. You know what I mean?
I'm sure, as I say, look.
But they say Keith Wyness, the guy that you mentioned, resigned from Everton on a matter of principle, reportedly citing Sir Philip Green's control over the club in 2008.
Well, when Keith went, I think he went for a specific reason. I think he had an option to go and manage other things in football, which he's always done very successfully, and he certainly has never spoken to me about any specific issue involving another businessman. But I really don't know. I know that for years Mr. Kenwright was looking for an outside investor to either invest heavily in the club or even buy the club. Before he found the current one, Mr. Mashiri. And so it wouldn't surprise me at all if there's a billionaire retailer who's got money to spare. I mean, Mr. Kenwright would have been remiss not to have gone and found out whether or not he had any interest in investing in Everton.
To be honest, with the amount of money swilling around in football nowadays, it would be surprising if there were not these kind of investment-type companies looking to get in. But my understanding it's a very complicated piece in The Guardian.
Right, well, they usually are pieces in The Guardian.
Which doesn't really come to any conclusions. No. But it does seem to suggest that the loophole which would have allowed this offshore company to invest has now been closed.
So do you think that, is the suggestion that somebody was trying to use Everton as a vehicle to avoid tax or something?
Well, I don't think it's that necessarily. No, I think it's just the fact that they had investors from this company that weren't really, they were kind of shadow investors that had more control over the club than anyone thought.
I mean, I've never seen Sir Philip Green at an Everton game or anything like that, so I really don't know. I can't answer that one. Don't want to mislead anybody?
No, of course not. I just thought I'd bring it up because I thought it was
trying to blank anything. I just simply don't know.
No, fair enough.
There's a few things I don't know.
Now, because it is your birthday, I'm going to make a one-time offer to you. If you'd like to accompany me to the hostelry after the show, I'll be more than happy to buy you your first beer of the day.
Look, we don't like to encourage bladderation unless it's in moderation.
Yes.
So,
well, also you've got a show to do tomorrow.
Got a show to do tomorrow, but as long as it's on the understanding that it's Bladdo Moddo, then
you accept?
I will accept your offer.
And it is your first beer of the day.
Oh, absolutely.
Good.
Yes,
that's the main thing. This is what?
Sorry?
What did you say?
What did I say?
Did you say nearly?
I said we're nearly at the end of the show.
Oh, sorry.